rating. It would get a bond rating of its own, one that might be able to meet the needs of the financing that it seeks. Our stability support can't do that for you, but you can do that for yourselves by exploring the regionalization and utilizing the potential for generating investment that is hard for you today to get in a different form. It doesn't mean giving anything up. If there is a new regional utility that is public owned, you're its majority shareholder. This is not about taking anything away at all. But the details of that only are able to be accessed by you by going through the process, not attacking it at the outset as though it will do something nefarious to you. You will ultimately decide whether the outcome of that exploration is something you would adopt. No one decides that for you. You will decide that. You will. No one is making this decision for you. However, every year that the capital investment could be made but isn't, every time you're operating off of a crisis reaction response model, which is very much what Trenton Water Works is doing, you're digging the hole deeper without helping yourselves out of it. The solution that could be before you is not defined. You will define it by going through the process. All I'm asking of you is that you don't close the door on that process and that exploration.
Thank you.
The outcomes of those assessments are real.
You've answered that part of the question. I don't want to take up too much time.
Okay.
Thank you. I want to, you talked about the solution. If I'm to understand correctly, you've been in this seat for 7 years, correct?
I've been commissioner for 5 years.
For 5 years. Your first time that you've been out to this plant, was that this past month?
It was in June.
Okay, so in June was the first time that you've been here in 7 years since you've been in that seat. 5 years, in 5 years, you come out to us for the first time in 5 years. If we're to work together and we're to work for what is best for our community, here's something that people, I feel that they seem to always think that Trenton needs someone to come in on a white horse and rescue us because we don't know what we're doing. Actually, we're getting it right now. Our water system is really doing good. But you already know that because you toured the plant.
No, but it's not doing good. No, it's not. It's not.
That's not your turn right now.
Ma'am, I'm sorry. It's not doing good.
It's my turn.
It's not.
You can answer and I'm going to finish in a minute. When I finish answering my question, the DEP mandated that we hire Mott McDonald. Is that correct? Mott McDonald, the DEP mandated.
Nobody mandated hire anyone.
Okay, that's not what the emails say, and I will get that out to prove that. But Mott McDonald designed our intake system that failed with the fragile ice. Mike McDonald, your person, and when he was questioned about why, what questions we had, he told us he couldn't even answer to us. He had to go to the DEP because they're the ones who did the hiring and firing. That was not who we picked.
No, ma'am, that's not correct. I'm sorry, but your facts are incorrect. Okay. Your facts are incorrect. Mott McDonald did design an intake for you.
But you're saying you did not have anything to do with the hiring of Mott McDonald. That is my question. The question is it's a yes or no. Did the DEP have anything to do with the hiring?
This is your water system. You choose its professionals.
Not if you're mandating it.
You choose them.
So did the DEP have anything to do with the hiring of Mott McDonald?
I think you're confusing two
yes
things,
or no
ma'am.
Question, sir.
Okay, ma'am, I understand your frustration. I do.
I'm really frustrated. You have no idea, because this is personal for me. This is
Then
my
why have
community.
you never called
Why
me
have
about
you never
Trenton
been here in
Road?
5 years? Now you're here. You're getting the offices are changing, and now you're here after 5 years of not being here, and we're
Ma'am.
getting it right. We have
Ma'am.
great engineers in place. We have a
Ma'am.
system that is working. That
No,
set
you don't.
hazards
You have
to
a
other
system
people.
that is
And
failing.
then you put someone in place that you say, well, you won't even answer yes or no, but the record says you mandated that we hire.
No.
And
You're
so your
you're-
answer is no.
Ma'am, your
Did the
facts are
DEP
incorrect. And
did
if
the
you would
DEP
let
have
me
anything to
speak,
do
I
with-
can give you
Did
accurate
the
facts.
DEP have anything to do with hiring Mott McDonald?
Not for the reason you are saying.
Did he? So you didn't hire him?
First of
You didn't
all,
have anything to do with
my
him?
goodness. Oh.
Oh, I'm just asking the question. If they have anything
Ma'am.
to do with the hiring
Ma'am.
for here in the city?
Guys, listen,
Ma'am.
can we just be, those in the audience,
Okay.
the audience.
So here's what we're going to do.
Ma'am, I'm going to
We're gonna
answer
go
your
past it.
question if you will let me. I'm very
Keep asking
prepared.
it.
to
I
be
hear
here.
five
Councilwoman
times.
Frisbee,
You haven't answered
Councilwoman
it yet.
Frisbee, Councilwoman Frisbee.
I am very prepared to be here today. Very prepared.
Commissioner,
So am
Was
I.
replaced. Let me finish my answer to your question.
5 times waiting on it.
You're actually not waiting on it.
I
You keep
am.
yelling at me.
I am.
Councilwoman Frisbee, can you allow him to answer the question, please? Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Mott McDonald was an engineer on your intake design. Somehow, without any investigation, the folks have concluded that the Frazzle ice problem is Mott McDonald's fault. I'm not offering an opinion on that either way, but I think that the immediate inclination to be defensive is part of the reason for the problems at this water plant.
Oh, wow.
Secondly, Mott McDonald, a different team, was hired by the DEP, not for your intake, for which you hired them, but to perform oversight functions with us. There is no investigation having been done as to the cause of the exact cause of the intake issue. Those investigations are underway. They should be complete by now. They're not. I do worry about the next winter, but there's other issues there as well. The lack of adherence to standard operating protocols is also a potential issue in that matter, right? Whether staff were utilizing the intake and doing blow-offs prior to the icy conditions of the Delaware, which happen every year, is also a concern. But here's the thing. I'm not here to level blame on anyone. It's thoroughly unproductive. It's thoroughly unproductive. The facts are what they are. Multiple professionals have deeply analyzed this water system, and it is at high risk of systemic failure. That does not mean any one person has done something wrong. It's the system itself. It's everything that pre-existed you or me.
Okay.
And we can fix it together. But
Thank you.
this isn't going to be the way we fix it. Being at each other is not the way we fix it.
Thank you. It's not about being at each other. You said you don't see how Mott McDonald had anything to do with it. If you designed it.
No, I
and it's
said
your-
I
it's-
have no
it's
opinion,
his.
and quite honestly,
Okay.
neither should you.
But I
Neither
do,
of us are
because if you're
engineers.
saying that if our system is failing and he's the one that designed it, that there's some correlation in there somewhere.
No, your
One
system's
has to do
failing
with
for
the other.
100 different reasons.
Okay, moving on to my last question. My final question is, you came in, you said in June, and you did an inspection. When you came in and you did you did a walkthrough. Our directors, I don't believe, knew anything about it. It was a surprise inspection. Surprise! You came. There are others. There were pictures that were put out that day.
Yes, I took them
Right.
myself.
You took them yourself. Did you ask anybody Did you realize what you were doing when you did that? Did you realize that one of the pictures that you put out actually compromised everybody who drinks our water? Why? That picture is not done yet. The picture that I'm referring to is the one that everybody thought our water is so contaminated because look at that red, dirty water. That wasn't red, dirty water. That was the water where we actually put the chemicals in to clean all the rest of the water. So that one picture that was put out for everybody to think that was misleading, that the water is contaminated. That was the area that is where we put the chemicals in. How do I know? Because I did a walkthrough also right after you did the walkthrough, just so I could get a better understanding. Thanks for our council president here. And we got the understanding. What the pictures did, which I just thought it was really rubbed me some kind of way, because I felt for my children, my family, my constituents, my community, if anyone were to be an idiot and they wanted to know where is the one place that they need to go to drop something in to contaminate the water, here's the ideal place, because there is only one exposed place. And you, sir, I'm glad you said, because I didn't know who took the picture. I just knew it was on your watch. You took a picture that actually compromised our facility. Were you aware that you were taking a picture? Did anybody tell you during the tour? My question is, did anybody tell you when you came in to take that tour that the picture that you were taking was where the chemicals were being put in to help clean the system?
Ma'am, I understand how a water system works, and I understand what the pictures are of.
You didn't answer my question, though.
And there's nothing that compromises the safety or security of the facility by having photographs of the facility and its conditions.
So if anyone want to drop something from aerial, the one spot that is red, they don't know. With the help of your pictures, that's where you should drop it. And that's what makes a difference in the quality of water.
That is a misunderstanding of how water systems function and what people would do to access them. There are multiple gates that one has to go through to even get to where the picture that you are referencing is taken. And if the facility can't maintain its security, that is another problem in itself. And that too is in the independent assessments.
So our area was secure, and I put the emphasis on the word was. It was secure. There was no problem with it. No one had taken pictures before because it's not legal. But people ask when they come in. Our directors were not there. They were not there to give you guidance. And you said you didn't need to know because you already know. If you knew that,
ma'am, one of the Trenton Water Workforce was with us on that tour. And also, I'm the Commissioner of Environmental Protection. It is my right to inspect whatever facility that I regulate that I wish.
With this inspection, that's it. And a picture is not an inspection. And again, I'm wrapping it up, Council President. That picture compromised our system is what I'm telling you, because no one else took pictures. No one else who was allowed to go through our plant would have been allowed to take pictures. So
ma'am,
my question is, I'm still talking.
That your staff does not allow visitors to take pictures, but the DEP has not compromised the safety of Trenton Water Works.
I'm done, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Frisbee. I have Councilwoman Williams.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for joining us tonight, Commissioner. We all appreciate that. So my first question is to follow up my colleague, Councilwoman Frisbee. We're taking the pictures in the public release of them. Any violation of Department of Homeland Security regulations?
No, there are violations of things that are required by the Department of Homeland Security, but they are not because of the DEP. They are redacted from reports, and I cannot discuss them here with you. It is why I requested a private meeting.
Okay. And then one of the statements you made earlier about not trying, the TWW and not trying to fulfill certain things going back to the reservoir, which in 2004, to my memory, Department of Homeland Security Post 9/11 said that we needed to cover which was at that point, and when we had actually Congressman Chris Smith was our congressman, tried to look into funding for it, and it was technically an unfunded mandate. The city was never given money to do that. And that was something, and this was back several presidential administrations ago. So I'd like you, if you can enlighten us, if they were provided money, particularly for a federal project that was mandated by the federal government, but I'd like to know what happened with that. But also that's a serious accusation, particularly as we've been trying to put tanks to replace the reservoir, but it's been much more difficult. And the attitude that Trenton and Trenton residents and Trenton Waterworks doesn't care about the residents of our neighboring towns, to me, that's disgusting. To me, to put forth that attitude that we're being lackadaisical, that our staff is inept, that our staff is unqualified for the positions they have, beyond insulting, it's a travesty. Because, yeah, there have been problems. I think we've recognized those problems, and particularly in this city council, since we've come on board, we have approved every single appropriation that's been asked for the Trenton Waterworks. So please do not come and tell us that we're not doing everything that's possible. And I want to get to my questions in a second. But I will frankly say to you, sir, having taken a tour of it and seeing a lot of this, I have confidence that we can turn this around, and we have been turning around. The fact that we are meeting federal and state standards for water right now, and our water is as drinkable as anywhere in the country. And I asked that of our staff at our last meeting. I do not understand how the statement could be made that we're incapable of preventing a catastrophe, let alone preserving the successes that have been made going forward.
For those answers, I defer you to the reports that have been done for you
I understand.
at the state's expense that say all the things that you just said you don't want to hear.
Okay, well, let's push back on that a little bit. So we're not here to not hear things, and we're not here to say we ain't wanting to hear anything either. What I'm going to ask you is, so January 27th this year, the report was released, your first report of 2025. You made a statement on NJ Spotlight News about ensuring, and I am going to paraphrase you, that the Trenton Waterworks be free from political influence in the future. What did you mean by that statement? Because we're in a city where the citizens, our fellow Trentonians in 2009, 2010, had to fight for the right through petition to go have a referendum that ended up going to the state Supreme Court for that right to save our waterworks the first time. So when you're saying political influence, does that mean our council? Does that mean the citizenry, exhibiting their rights of citizenship?
No, it doesn't mean any of those things.
Okay.
Again, I think that every member of this council needs to read every single page of these assessments. Every single
I
page.
get that. We all can read this, but everyone up here is extremely intelligent.
I'm not
But
doubting
I know you're not
anyone's
saying we're not.
intelligence.
I know you're not saying we're not, and I'm not trying to be combative with you, sir. But and when you wrote that and said free of political influence, I want to know where you're coming from, because the tone of a lot of the stuff we've gotten in letters hasn't been exactly friendly, and I'm not expecting a Christmas card this year. So please tell me what you meant by that.
So I don't know how to respond to your point about friendly and
Well,
Christmas
what did you
cards.
mean by
These are
political
conditions
influence?
that have afflicted this water system for decades. This is not new.
Okay, so
This is not new. And when the statement is made about political influence, read the H2M technical, managerial, and financial capacity assessment. It says exactly what is meant by that, right? The fact that you, an elected body, are the ones in charge of a water system. You need a more studied managerial executive leadership that can run the water system along with its staff, not in place of its staff. But you don't have that. You have a director that's got to go say, "Mother, may I," to a mayor. That is not the way this should be.
okay, hold on. So let's set the table for real. Let's set the table for real. It's not to a mayor. It's to another government agency called a Department of Community Affairs, sir. They have to approve everything we do from a janitor to a paperclip.
Right.
And to say that this council, and I believe.
I am not saying anything derogatory about this council
Well,
at all.
Our commitment's there. I'll get to my next question, sir. So up to now, why did NJDOP not provide the capital appropriations to the Trenton Waterworks in the past nearly 3 years? That would make our waterworks not be on the verge of catastrophe. And as you said, imminent substantial endangerment of public health. Why was that not done? But you want to pull the supervisory work that's happening through consultants. DEP doesn't have an office in the building. You're not there full time. So why weren't the capital appropriations made that we have to do to make sure that our water is supposedly safe from catastrophe? Why did that not happen?
Ma'am, it is not. I think folks might misunderstand the role of the state government here. Our job is to make sure you do yours, meaning you, the water system, do yours. That's our job. Our job is to provide funding if you can demonstrate your eligibility for it and if you get in timely applications for it. That has not occurred, unfortunately. Right? There's been a lot of funding, really valuable funding, that has been left on the table because there is not capacity within the water system, because you have people stretched to the max that aren't able to engage in the funding opportunities.
So why
It's not as though the state government goes and gives appropriations to every water system. That's not the way it works. You're providing a fee for a service. It's your job as the provider of that service to make sure it's consistently safe and reliably so, to comply with every single regulation, not just the one you seem to like on momentary water quality. Right? Every obligation, including covering the unfinished wet reservoir, which is not an unfunded mandate. It is your obligation
Was it funded
as
by
a
the federal
provider
government?
of water to people who pay for it.
Thank you. And
If the system applies
Mhm.
for funding, there is plenty of funding available. But take, for example, the most recent funding that's been made available to the city to advance lead service line replacement. Without these incredible women here pushing and pushing and pushing for those applications to get done and get in and get funding, you wouldn't have it.
Okay, and I thank the ladies on your staff for doing this, but this council, including Councilman Harrison and all the ladies on this council, have been voting and voting and voting for every bond we could possibly pass, which gets me to my next point. We're not allowed to meet our full debt capacity for the waterworks. And then second to that, why does the state of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection or any other state agency try to help us increase our bonding capacity and possibly, if we're such a bad risk, help underwrite the bonds by giving us a credibility to be able to get those bonds and also get them at lower rates?
Ma'am,
Why is that impossible?
Ma'am, I'm not going to speak for the DCA, but it is a fact that the city receives considerable transitional aid from the state. Right? I'm here to talk about the infrastructure, the ability to maintain it, and a better way that can be pursued that does not rip away from the city its asset and ability to generate revenue. Right?
Mhm.
Pursuing a different mode of governance does not do that. Is it possible for the state government to underwrite the water system itself? No, it's not possible. We have a mechanism for supporting you. It's through our water infrastructure investment plan. Unfortunately, the system lacks the managerial capacity to take advantage of all the financing that is available to it.
Okay, so then let me close with this, sir. If you're saying the managerial capacity doesn't exist, then let's get all the cards out on the table. What changes wanted to be happen? But there's nothing holding the state of New Jersey, the state DOP, from being all in. No one's saying you have to be our mommy and our daddy and tell us everything we have to do and do everything for us. We can do for ourselves. but we do need the financial capacity to do that. We also need, if there's additional expertise to be found, we need to find that better expertise than we had this last time around, certainly. And you need, as your department, as our state government, you need to actually want to partner with us, not take away from us. And that's what
Nobody's
we're
trying
asking
to
for.
take anything away from you. But if the posture remains a defensive one, this doesn't move on from here. You stay in traction.
All right. I want
The
to,
reports, all of the assessments are very clear on this point. You need the help of a different form of governance.
well, there's
You
another
need
alternative
it.
that allows us to do this ourselves with your assistance, not your oversight. And we're not asking for you to take away our waterworks. This is not defensive.
No one is
Sir,
talking
we're
about
being
taking
honest.
away anything.
We're being
But that
honest.
narrative itself is a problem, Councilwoman. That narrative is a problem. I've been up here all evening telling you that I don't want to take away your water system. At what point? Why do you think I want it? It has been driven into the ground. No, but I want you to be able to fix it yourself. There are too many barriers to
Commissioner,
your
I don't
doing that.
disagree with you. Since we saved the waterworks, I'm really going to close with this. Since we saved the waterworks the first time in 2010, have all the investments been made? All the right decisions been made? No, but now they are.
Save the
It's
waterworks in
happening.
2010 from what?
For being sold to New Jersey American Water, first of all, which is part of a conglomerate. This isn't new. Privatizing water is big business in the United States and around the world. It's not hard to find out. All you have to do is go into Wall Street
Ma'am,
Journal and Business
I
Week.
think you misunderstand the distinction between privatization
I
and
understand.
regionalization, which you control. And I would encourage you, again, to read every page of
Thank you
both
very much, sir.
reports.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilwoman Williams. I have Councilwoman Feliciano next.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, Commissioner.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming before us tonight. All right. So when we talk about the regionalization of the waterworks, how does that look when we talk about running the authority? Who would be running it? Are there commissioners that are appointed? Would it be from someone from each municipality? Who would run the authority?
So what I am suggesting to you is to engage in a process to even determine that. It hasn't been decided for you. Again, the process that I am suggesting, that quite honestly, I had thought everyone was bought into. And I want to be clear about this. I thought this is what we were doing together.
What do you mean you thought even
not,
this council bought into? We didn't know.
well, I am not in control of what you know from other parts of your government.
And you're exactly right. And that's why we have you here so that we can hear it from you, so that before this council makes any determination, we can hear it for ourselves, not hear it third party, not read reports that we were never privy to, not hear about conversations until they were put in the
I guess
newspaper.
I don't understand. This has been going on, and these reports were provided to the city
But the whole
in
concept,
January.
but the whole concept of this regionalization and, you know, what exactly it entailed, us having the opportunity to ask the questions that we're asking, that we're entitled to ask before we got your letter saying, make your mind up by this day or this. That's not even fair to us. And
I
not here
did
to
not
argue.
know that
I'm
you,
just
the
asking
council,
my
did not
questions.
know.
Okay, now you know. So the question I had was the structure, because from my understanding, the structure would be commissioners that would come from the different municipalities that would oversee this. Everybody gets a nice salary. There's a big director that gets a nice salary.
Why are you
But is
even
everybody-
thinking any of these things?
Because I was
There's been-
thinking, because what about Trenton? What about our employees
Yeah,
here?
but-
What about us?
But
I'm just
ma'am.
asking you what it looks like.
ma'am, I'm saying that what you should do is explore what it looks like and decide for yourselves. No one is doing this, making this decision for you. I think there must be some swirl of misinformation about what this means, that somehow people are going to march into the city of Trenton and take its water system. It's yours. It's failing, but it's yours, right? And it needs to be improved upon. the circumstances that exist right now, for all the reasons explained in these reports, there is not the capacity in this city to do it yourselves. I'm sorry, but that is the reality, right? And I acknowledge that none of us created that reality. But what we get to decide is if we're going to do this, if Miss Frisbee and I are going to yell at each other, if Miss Williams and I are going to say, don't talk bad about this person, that person. I mean, in my letters right now to you today, I am telling you, I seek not to impugn the operators of Trenton Waterworks. They are operating on a shoestring because they were left that way, and not by you and not by this council, but by history. And we get to choose if we make it better or not. But the way forward isn't for us to presume that, and I get it, Trenton makes the world takes. I get it. I get it. But here's the thing. If you are used to seeing enemies everywhere, you forget how to make friends. And we are trying to be a friend to you and telling you that we think this is worthy of your consideration. All the questions you're asking about how it would be structured, sit on the executive steering committee for this effort and you decide. Not us, not the state government. Sure, we'll be there too, right? Because we want to help, not because we want to take away.
But in essence, so again, I don't think anyone up here sees people as an enemy. We're not an argumentative group here.
It
which
feels
is-
that way.
Okay, I'm sorry you feel that way. But here we are. So when it comes to, and I hear what you're saying about this steering committee, the group to do the study, to see what's going on and try to come out to what we're going to do at the end of this. From my understanding, the power of whatever happens, if we move to this authority, then moves from the council. We would have no say over what would be happening. It would move from the hands of the city into the authority itself, which then would be able to decide rate increases if they wanted to sell it to American Water, that we would have no say on anything.
That
And that is a
that is an
concern.
incorrect presumption on your part, ma'am.
Okay.
And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that that is the incorrect presumption.
Mhm.
But if you are to form a regional utility and you are contributing whatever it is you have to bring, your power in that regional utility is in proportion to what you bring to it,
Mhm.
right? You don't lose something, but you do gain something. You gain more partners in helping you run it. You gain more confidence of the market, which does not have confidence today, in order to get the type of investment that you need. You gain a lot more by coming together with others. It doesn't mean somebody is taking something from you, and you get to decide how that works. And if you ultimately sign up to do it, you will have to decide whether you do it or not. So what do you want it to look like? Engage in a process to design it. If you don't like how that process ends up, don't vote for it.
So
I'm
let me ask you this.
suggesting that you pursue a process that could put you on a better footing. Not that we ignore the facts and say, well, we've made some improvements, but not others, and they're just being too hard on us. That's not the case. It is impossible for a system as complicated and as old as this one to recover from the level of disinvestment that has occurred over time all by itself.
Mhm.
It cannot do it.
And so what happens if we were to say no?
Then You say no,
And what happens?
and
then?
you are on your own. I don't know what happens.
So there's not a legislative order that's waiting to be handed down to require that it happens anyway. If we do say no, this deal was already done. We're sitting here, we're having the conversation. You could tell me on the record right now that if we were to say no, there is no legislative order ready to say that Trenton is going to go ahead and do this anyway?
Ma'am, the fact that that's the presumption
It's not a
is
presumption,
a
sir.
barrier to moving forward in a productive way. There's no legislative order.
Okay.
There's no DEP order. Their DEP order is quite simple. You have to do what is required of you under the law. You have not, right? What happens if you don't? I don't get to decide that. Does ultimately, if you still can't meet compliance, does ultimately a court have to decide that? Possibly. That is not what anybody wants here. And in fact, the lawsuit from 2020 was put on a stay, was put inactive by me so that we could work collaboratively to advance this point, right? So that we can build a better future. I don't know what happens. I don't want that to happen to you. But I also may not be the commissioner stopping it from happening to you in a few months if there's a change of administrations and I'm no longer here. I want you to be successful so very much. I want you to pursue this process that will help you be in charge of your own destiny so that somebody doesn't sweep in and decide it for you, whether that's the legislature, a next administration, the federal government. I don't get to control any of those things. I get to make you a recommendation. That's all I can do. And that's what I'm here to do. Recommend to you that you pursue the process. There's no foregone conclusion.
Thank you. Before I allow Councilman Figueroa Cuttenberg, I just want to state, Commissioner, first, we do thank you for being here because we all wanted to hear this all together. But we're not trying to be combative. You have to understand the passion that we all have, right? And the picture that is being painted. You continue to say that you're here to explore this idea. However, in the letter, it was like a forced decision. An RFP was put out. We had no idea that so those things make us feel as if the decision is already made. So you have to understand where we're coming from and why we feel the way we
really do.
feel.
And
Okay.
I want to tell you, members of this council, I am sorry that this has unfolded in the way that it has. That RFP was written by me with the input sitting next to me at the table of your mayor. How do I know what happens between the levels of government, right? And your mayor has worked really hard to make these improvements. I'm not impugning him either. But I don't know what I don't know about the operations of city government, right? And so I am sorry that we have not talked directly about it. But I wanted to sit down with all of you and explain what I thought was a miscommunication. And I appreciate that you want to meet in public.
We wanted everyone to hear the same information. The private meetings, some people may understand something one way and others will do it the same. So that's why we wanted it in public and with everyone to be able to hear. Councilwoman Figueroa Kettenberg.
Thank you, Council President. Commissioner, again, thanks for meeting with us tonight. Again, we're not trying to be combative at any cost. We just want answers. We represent the city of Trenton and all the people in the city of Trenton, and we're supposed to represent the best interests for the city, and that's what we're here trying to do. As a lifelong Trenton resident, I have to speak to our community's wants and their needs. Our residents value local accountability, local jobs, the right to have direct voice in how our water system's managed. We recognize that there's serious challenges that require investment, oversight, hard work that the state of New Jersey incessantly has not provided us. We have gone years and years and years decades of not receiving valid funding from the state of New Jersey as the capital city of Trenton. We have taken years and years and decades to try to pull ourselves out of a box of getting the minimal money from Chris Christie. We are still pulling ourselves up from the bootstraps. I have to say that I have to second Councilwoman Frisbee's sentiments about you being the commissioner for 5 years and you have just now recently visited Trenton Waterworks plant. I find that highly offensive. I'm a director. I've been a director for 10 years now, almost. I cannot go 2 weeks without sitting with my staff and seeing what they're doing and talking to them and finding out the ins and outs of the dynamic. I run a whole state program. I find it offensive that you have just come to our water plant, as you said, 5 years, you just went in June, right? Is that correct? Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I just
Would you
wanted-
like to know why?
No,
No?
you can ask, you can answer why. I was
So
my question. Go ahead.
I understand why hearing that I just went to Trenton Waterworks might sound weird. But that is not what the Commissioner of Environmental Protection does. There are many, many staff at the DEP who routinely visit the water systems in this state, including Trenton Waterworks, right? I thought it was very important that I go there and see things for myself at this particular juncture, right? But it's not a routine function of what a cabinet secretary does. There are many folks at DEP who do that. I read their reports. I see their pictures. I talk to them constantly. But that is not this state has more than 3,000 water systems. That is not a function of what I do. But it was important here because of how deeply invested we are in trying to make this better. And it felt as though in order for me to be able to explain it all to you and the public, I needed to be there physically myself. I did not see anything different than has been reported to me. It's troubling, but it's not as though I didn't know before. It's not as though this is a recent discovery. And I recognize what y'all are saying about the state of New Jersey and being due some funding because you're the capital city. I understand that perspective. I ask you to understand mine. My job is to treat every single water system the same, to ensure that there is compliance. The only water system that I have not treated the same is the city of Trenton's. Have there been the degree of non-compliance in another place, you wouldn't see the DEP there trying to help them get it right, expending the resources of our staff to send it to you. There are many things throughout the rest of the state that our focus is distracted from in order to help you because we want to. I am sorry that the history of this important place and this utility is what it is. My suggestion is only about how we can make it better together. I can't fix that history any more than you can.
Thank you, Commissioner. Our goal as a council is to make sure that we are strengthening our waterworks and not dismantling it. That is not what we are trying to do here. And we don't have a clear understanding as to what this regionalization would look like. So let's just go into that direction. Let's say we regionalize, correct? How would DEP ensure that Trenton's taxpayers and water customers are not forced to subsidize the cost of regionalization in our surrounding towns?
So that's just not the way that it would work. And I think again, I'm going to ask every member of this council to carefully read every page of these two reports. That's not what regionalization means, right? There's no it's not as though Trenton is subsidizing others. The majority of your rate base is outside the city of Trenton. The majority of your revenue comes from outside the city of Trenton. That wouldn't change, right? There's no subsidizing of others. There's a question about how coming together collectively, the whole region can be better supported in its water quality needs, right? Because those needs are at risk of being consistently met, right? It's not as though you would give away something and not. Folks have a tendency, I think, to think of these things in terms of privatization, as though if you are selling your water system and you're going to get a check. That's not what we're talking about here. That's not what regionalization would do. What regionalization would do is bring assets together outside of some of the limitations that the city faces, right? Bond rating is part of that, right? You would be able to build a bond rating for that new utility that doesn't suffer from some of the debt burden. And in reverse, the same is true. By not having to carry the debt of the waterworks on the city, you can lift both bond ratings and do better to better collectively. And then the revenue that you would get from the waterworks, which still would flow, would still help to lift the city. You are not optimized for success. And in the current structure, you couldn't possibly be because of all the barriers that stand in your way. But this is not about giving something and not being paid for it. It's about adapting the forms of government to do their most work for the people that government serves. That is why no one has talked about privatization, because it wouldn't have that public identity, right?
But I feel like Trenton is constantly under a looking glass and being bashed for things that are common. For instance, you led off with Legionella. Legionella is actually common in over 50% of water facilities, even well-maintained water facilities.
Ma'am, I've never had a Legionella outbreak in this state like we had in Trenton. And no.
I'd like to see statistics on that. I would like to see. So again, we haven't gotten a clear answer as to what regionalization would look like. You keep telling us to read, but we have read, and we brought you here for transparency. We brought you here to answer to the public that is coming from you and you only. So I really resent the fact that you keep alluding to the fact that we're not doing our research up here. But I want to ask you one more question. Given that Trenton is a majority minority and historically under-resourced city, how does DEP plan to address the environmental justice implications of removing local control of its water system?
The local control that has resulted in the near collapse of this system is an environmental injustice. I'm sorry, ma'am, but I will not tolerate environmental justice being thrown around as though somehow the work to help ensure the protection of the public health of that underserved majority minority community would be undermined by ensuring that Trenton Waterworks does not collapse. I've not had another water system where we've had to call in the CDC, the EPA, ATSDR in order to flush Legionella out of a water system. I've not had that. I've not seen that in my career. I've not seen an open water reservoir have an accidental release of zinc orthophosphate and risk the development of a harmful algal bloom that creates cyanotoxins that could potentially paralyze people if not addressed. These things I don't see elsewhere. I am not suggesting that no degree of improvement has been made. I'm not suggesting that. I'm only suggesting that you cannot do this by yourselves. And it's not just my suggestion. Many professionals who deeply know this stuff have reached the same conclusion. And no one seeks to harm the city of Trenton or rag on the city of Trenton or put a undeserved magnifying glass over it either. That is not what is happening here.
So Commissioner, then I'll leave with this. DEP basically would be the one to have to reconcile the fact that regionalization would essentially penalize Trenton residents for failures that occurred under DEP watch. Thank you.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me. No, that's absurd. That's absurd. And quite frankly, it's a bit shameful.
Thank you.
It's a bit shameful.
Councilwoman
Failures
Kattenberg.
have
Attitude this
occurred.
evening has been shameful.
Failures.
Your attitude this evening has been shameful.
Councilwoman
Are you kidding
Kattenberg,
me?
thank you.
I have come here to
Council
be yelled
Vice
at.
President.
I have come here to be yelled at by each of you. I have come here to be yelled at by each of you. And not one of you has ever, in the amount of time you have sat on this council, reached for me directly and asked me what is going on. And I come here before you because I am deeply concerned about the public health of this community. And you want to yell at me and tell me that our support of you is not good enough?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. Council Vice President Edwards,
Thank you, Council President.
round it out.
Good evening, Commissioner Latourette. I want to say first of all, thank you for coming and taking the opportunity to meet with us collectively. It was very important for all of us to meet with you collectively so that we can get the same story, so we can get the same interpretations of what's going on. As you said, and as I know historically, as a history buff myself and as someone born and raised in this city, I love my city. I've done my research and I do know there has been problems that we have inherited, this council and this administration, dating back decades. So we are highly aware of that. However, and to your point, none of us did reach out to you. And I will explain why, because when I attempted to, and I still have my email to you saved in my drafts, I was advised not to because there is a pending lawsuit and that they wanted to allow the attorneys that were on the case to work with the mayors, all of the mayors and yourself. So I was advised to stand down. I did have a meeting with myself, with the law director, with the council president, and the attorneys that are on the case earlier this year to explore other options of restructuring if necessary. However, we want assessments of its current structure and what it would take to bring this utility up to standards. Now, I just wanted to give that background information so that everyone is aware that this council has been doing their due diligence, but the lack of communication with you directly was because of a lawsuit that we were made aware of. Not knowing, to your earlier comments, that you said that the lawsuit was put on hold by you so that they can figure it out. So now that we're caught up on that, I do want to know, and I hear your points, that you don't believe, and neither does any of the other professionals who did some type of an assessment, that the city is capable of correcting it as its current structure, right? As you call status quo. However, is it possible for us to receive a list of every recommendation that you would, and I've read your reports, I have access to all of the websites, the RFP that you put out back in April. I see the TMF reports, I see the 360 reports. I've combed through 103 of those pages. I combed through pages with the TMF reports, 217, with my interns and with my advisors. And I mean, given our bond ratings and the things, I do have similar conclusions that we do need help because financially our city cannot take care of this utility in its current structure. And I did hear your comments that there is money. However, the city has not been applying for them or in a timely manner or not meeting the requirements to qualify for the funding. I would like proof of that. Like, have they applied? When were the applications due? Can we see all of this information so that we can determine where the systemic breakdowns are within the administration so that this council can provide better oversight? We're missing a lot of information that could help us determine what exactly we need to do, you know, in terms of the revenues, the bond ratings and things. So going back to the meeting that we had earlier this year, and this was prior to your RFP in April, this was in response to the report that came out, I believe, in January. So we were talking about coming up with a list of what we need to do to bring it up to par. And we talked about regionalization and we talked about a regular Trenton authority. We haven't gotten any type of solidified answers or responses as to what would work, how Trenton could benefit from it, whether the employees would be protected, whether the revenues, because it is a public utility owned by the city and by state law, we can take up to 5% of the surplus and put that towards our general operating budget. So historically, we have been taking about 2% for our general operating budget. If we were to restructure, right, into a regional authority or even a Trenton-owned authority, how we have similar with housing and parking, how would that affect that? Would we still get that surplus or would we have to divvy that up to the other townships? Because then it would be a shared service and shared ownership. Like this, it's very complex if you're following along with. But I'll stop
Absolutely.
there.
I am absolutely following along with you. So on your first question, which is, what are the things that need to be done to be brought up to par? In every part of the TMF report, there is a set of recommended things that need to be done, right? In every single chapter, things that need to be done in water treatment, in distribution, in laboratory, right? The three main areas, but within each of those, it goes into finer level of detail and explains what the problems are and what needs to be done. So all of that is there, right? And then when you flip to the 360 report, you then see how different governance models would enable you to meet the needs in different ways and at different costs, because one governance model does not receive the same financial benefits as others. So for example, privatization, it does not receive the benefits of a tax exempt status and access to the funding at very low rates or principally forgiven amounts that a regional utility would. And all of that is explained in chapter 10 and 11 of the 360 report. In terms of your third question about how would the city of Trenton benefit from a regional model, that is also explained in the 360, and there are different benefits based on the governance model that you choose. Some of those governance models would help you in underwriting and addressing some of your pension obligations, make it cheaper for you to meet those obligations by consolidating some of your debt. How exactly all that is done, I cannot stand here and tell you, because that is the reason to engage in the process that I'm suggesting, because it will give you all of those answers. It will analyze for some of the information that is lacking, right? The financials of the waterworks are not easily discernible. There was a lot of trouble in getting, as good information that we were able to from the systems that exist and losses of institutional knowledge and the things that happen. Again, not any one person's fault, right? But all of those questions would have an answer in exploring them in this process. That's the only way to really know the answers to those questions. And that's why we are suggesting that you do it.
Thank you. I want to address the letter that you sent back in July on the 29th. You mentioned how the 360 report references all of these different governance or models, structures, and things like that, options. You mentioned 5 options earlier that is on the table. However, your letter to us, including the RFP in April, did not mention this assessment entertaining those other options. So I think that that's where you're getting the biggest pushback is it does seem like the DEP is saying you need to assess regionalization, not all 5 options, to see what would be comfortable for Trentonians in this governing body and this administration moving forward and how that would affect our city and our customers who are benefiting from Trenton Waterworks, right? So I think that's where the miscommunication is.
May I explain?
Yes.
So if you think of those 5 options as a scale from left to right, the left being the utility as it exists today with all of the barriers that I have been trying to explain.
Mhm.
And the far right is privatization. The regional utility is only one step to the right. And with each from that left end of status quo, which is not advisable, regionalization as a public entity is only one step to the right of that.
Mhm.
With each other step to the right of that, you lose control. And it was my understanding that that was not something that was of interest to the city. I understand that that was not communicated to me by you. And I'm very clearly seeing the communication gap here. But regionalization as a public entity would be the best option for keeping the things you want and not being burdened by the things that are making it impossible for this to see real, true, sustained success over time.
Okay. Well, thank you for, identifying and accepting there is a gap in communication in your recent letter and the RFP with this council, because had, we not had to find out things through the grapevine, mind you, we've been in office for 2.5 years, but you've been in your position for 5. And as new coming council, we should have been brought up to speed. So I would, hope that the DEP would recognize that moving forward, that when new councils are sworn in, there needs to be communication, especially as a majority freshman council. We need you to reach out to us and then we could take it from there.
I appreciate that request, and I can see clearly why that is needed here, but that's not the way that our regulatory oversight ever works, right? We go to we engage with the water utility, and it is taken as it is taken as a matter of routine that on the side of the regulated entity, the waterworks, you all are having the communications that you need to have. I've never addressed a city council or a borough council or commission about a water system ever. I can see why that is helpful perhaps to advance the issues here.
Yes, I appreciate that. Moving on. So I would like to ask a couple more questions. So what are your thoughts on, setting regionalization to the side? We do have other authorities that are Trenton authorities where the board members are Trentonians and they have their own bonding capacity and things of that nature. What are your thoughts on, that being an alternative, a Trenton owned model with a credible reform plan, would that be something acceptable to the DEP?
The DEP's regulatory interest here is ensuring reliably clean, safe drinking water. That is our only interest. And what we're doing by providing direct operational oversight and support and bringing in contractors when you need that, that is all extra regulatory. It is our work to be as helpful as we can. How the city moves forward is, as a regulatory matter, not our province, but every fact that has been explored, all of the records that have been reviewed, the historical review, the analysis and the interviews, they all go in one direction, which is that as the sole owner and operator, the city is not likely to be successful. Because while we're talking about bond ratings and financial issues, that's only a third of the
Yeah.
issue. There are the technical issues and the managerial issues. Without treating what has over time become a regional utility, right? There was a time when Trenton Waterworks was just a Trenton utility, and it has grown over the years into a regional one. Without treating it like one, legally, as a matter of governance, none of the evaluations that have been done suggest that it could be successful.
So to be
I don't think that you should put it to the side, is what I'm telling you.
right, but just wanted you to, be able to compartmentalize that for a second to entertain whether a Trenton-owned model could be successful in a city, and you haven't answered that question.
The reports say no. The reports all say no, it couldn't be.
Okay, so, and clearly you don't believe that Trenton can bring it up to standard on its own.
It's not that I don't believe it. It's that here we are in 2025. These same types of recommendations were made back in the 70s, right? And then flash forward to not less than 10 years ago. These same types of recommendations were made because there is a cyclical experience that is occurring here. So there's not a reason to believe that it will make itself better without the support of making it bigger as a matter of the resource pool, as a matter of encouraging folks to engage with the city. Since you did not know of the RFP, I think there's probably the RFP that was constructed for regionalization support services. There's probably another one that you don't know about that I can share. We in late last year, after the second unilateral administrative order, we put out an RFP to bring some contracted additional support into the city, right? Because you don't have enough operators, you don't have enough staff to do the jobs that are necessary. And so we sought outside entities that would bring those types of staff and bring them into the water system to help fill some gaps, right? The mayor and I had discussed this as building some of the capacity, and the state putting out this contract to help do that, to help bring more folks in, right? not to supplant the workforce. No, no, no. You don't need to lose them. You need more. You need more. And you need more experienced people than you have. It doesn't mean you need less. It doesn't mean you need to fire everybody, right? But you need more support than you have. And so we put out the bid and we met with folks who had questions about the bid, and not a single company would bid. And I think you're going to have, if you made the, if you tried to do a separate authority that's still of the city, I think you'll have that same problem.
Why do you believe that?
Because I think you'll have problems recruiting the additional support that you don't have that you'll need.
So where has the state been on that? I understand that there's oversight, requirements and things. That's your job. Your job is in personnel. Your job isn't to show up to council meetings. And by the way, I appreciate that. I understand this is an unprecedented type of situation here. So I want to say I really appreciate you coming in here. But with the personnel issues that we have with Trenton Waterworks, and we do have it citywide across other departments, but Trenton Waterworks, some of these positions require special licenses and certifications and education and experience and things like that. And the director was telling us for the last couple of budget seasons, we've been budgeting for these positions. However, it doesn't seem to, we don't seem to get any bites on them. Now, there are some communication issues that I've spoke to the administration about, so we'll leave that there. But where do you see the issues being with them having trouble finding the qualified people to apply for these positions? And it can't just be no one wants to work for Trenton because we're always headlining negatively. So what is going on?
I think there are a couple of different issues. I don't want to pretend that the Trenton Waterworks challenges that we've talked about here and that are in these reports, I don't want to suggest that that doesn't matter to applicants, because it does. But one of the things you would see in both the TMF and the 360 is that the compensation that is offered is not on par with the sector, right? So you're not compensating your staff well enough for the jobs they already do, right? You're not and you're not able to offer the level of compensation that would encourage even more folks to apply. And you don't have the required training programs internally at the waterworks that would help the people of Trenton who maybe don't have a license to get one. And when we talk about the lack of managerial capacity, it's not that Mr. Semple doesn't want to do these things. Of course he does. I think he's trying as hard as he can. But in this really constrained environment, it's impossible for the staff that is operating at limited capacity to be able to make all the funding applications for the money that's available but they can't get, to build the training program that they don't have but the folks need, right? To also maintain the equipment that hasn't been maintained, and it's not their fault, but it's been decades, right? It's too much to bear. And that's why the regional approach makes sense, because you're saying, if you said it, if you did it, if you voted for it, if you chose it, you're saying that maybe we shouldn't be bearing this all by ourselves and there's a better way to do it, right? But I think there's too many constraints, and folks that are deeply experienced in this sector, they're not going to come from far and wide. We haven't seen it happen. And we could say, well, maybe that's because this government agency, says one thing, and then you got the DEP saying this, and you got the DCA saying that. I am very familiar with that line of narrative, but it doesn't hold true, right? It's not that those things aren't in themselves ways, like in their own ways, that they're not barriers. I'm not telling you that being on transitional aid is a picnic, right? But it's too many barriers to jump over all at once. So the thinking is, if you just get yourself out of this spiral, right? This spiral, you break out into building this better thing, right? That's the thinking behind this.
Okay, thank you. So I'm hearing that the salaries are not competitive, that they're below market rate where engineers or I forget some of the other titles that you mentioned are receiving at their current position. So it's not a good incentivization. And being that the department isn't applying for these grants and things, so we're leaving money on the table that could go towards the budget to provide better compensation and salaries.
Well, no, because the money I'm suggesting being left on the table is capital dollars, right? That's being left on the table. That wouldn't necessarily help you with your operational budget. But if you had a really robustly staffed water system with all the necessary levels of expertise that are needed, right? And the staff that was right-sized to it, you would be able to identify issues that are revenue losers and remove them, right? So for example, this break and fix cycle that the system has been in for decades, it's actually costing you more money in the long term because you're paying for a temporary solution, responding to a crisis, which always costs more. The intake failure is a good example of this, right? Where you had to go out and solicit for emergency pumps. Now, we helped with some of that, right? In order to get things working on a temporary basis, while you then are investigating how to make the permanent solution. And so you're paying twice. And that first time you're paying a lot more, right? That happens over and over and over again in this system, right? So you're losing money because of the modality of the operations and management, right? And it's not anybody's fault because when things break and people need to get water, it's got to be fixed, right? We're talking about how do we put this in a position where it's not break and fix, break and fix, break and fix. And so you'd save money there that could go to operations. And then additionally, you're unquestionably losing water and losing revenue as a function of that within the aging distribution system. So how you tighten it up to make sure that you're not losing water that is valuable when treated and saleable, that also boosts revenue. But you're too stretched to be able to do all of those things. And so moving to a different form within the same city structure, it's just not going to resolve those issues.
Okay, so I want to stay on the finances. You mentioned earlier that the finances are being obscured in some ways. Can you elaborate on that?
I think there are some things that are really hard to understand. And both the H2M TMF report and the 360-degree evaluation get into this. It's very difficult to obtain all of the financial information that's necessary for these reviews. And part of that has to do, and you'll see in the TMF, an evaluation of the collections area. At some points, you've been in a position where you're having 20% of your bills unpaid, right? And now part of that, there's a COVID lag for non-payment. And yes, that's part of the issue. But when you look back historically over time, that's happened for years and years and years and years. And it puts you at this risk of, at a solvency risk, because then what's happening is you're budgeting for a certain amount, right? The council is budgeting for a certain amount for the waterworks. The waterworks isn't using all of that budget because it can't get done all the things that it needs to do. So there's a surplus that then gets carried over. Some of that goes to support the general fund, as you were mentioning, but then because of the unpaid bills, you're dwindling down that surplus and that surplus and that surplus, right? And so you've just got these multiple things all happening at the same time. And it needs the kind of shakeup that is a reinvention to get it right. And it's not that the folks that are there can't be part of that reinvention. They necessarily are, but they can't do it by themselves. And just getting more effectively junior people to work from the bottom up in a system that doesn't have a program that trains them, you can't create the type of bandwidth that your top people need, right? Like take Deja, for example. She's the chief chemist, but she's also the backup operator. And I can tell that she she feels so strongly about her. I can see it, right? That she's so invested in her work, but she's doing double duty, right? And I think that's an example of what happens when you have this thinned capacity, and you got to rebuild the whole thing to get it right.
I do see some of the strain capacity that you're mentioning, but I have one last question. It's a simple question, and it's probably the elephant in the room. To Council Feliciano's question to piggyback off of her earlier, if we say no, we want to keep the current structure and work on the corrections, then what happens next? Do you go back and go to the state, whoever your boss is at the state, and say, this is the report, this was the decision made by the council, and what does that look like? Are you just saying they said no, they want to work on it? Is there a recommendation by you that it's attached to that? And would that recommendation be for a court decision to force action?
So again, what we are doing here in order to help support the city is extra regulatory, right? It's not part of our routine compliance and enforcement job. If the city doesn't want to move forward, then our work trying to help you move forward is over, right? But what then happens, not because it's a consequence, but just because of the way things work, right? We are obligated, I am obligated to ensure compliance to the things that are required, right? And those things that are required are not being met. Maybe they get met, in which case we all move along. If they're still not met, then our only option, and I'm not saying that that's tomorrow, maybe they do get met. Maybe you pursue this standalone entity that you're talking about, and maybe that fixes things. It doesn't look like that will work. But eventually there comes a point when, if compliance isn't met, we are obligated to go to the court, right? It's not that is a hammer somebody's wielding over your heads. There is an obligation. Things that the city has agreed to do that it hasn't been able to do. And all of that is, I don't know that it's not going to magically get resolved, but no one thinks going to a court is going to magically make things better, right? It's going to cost time and it's going to cost money that we should spend on a process evaluating a better way, right? At least that's our perspective. And at the end of the day, we implement the Safe Drinking Water Act from the federal government and the state government. If we are unable to ensure that Trenton Water Works meets all the requirements, then the federal government can step in. I don't know if or when that would ever happen, and I certainly wouldn't ask. But that's a risk too. I couldn't tell you what happens.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Council Vice President. I'm going to see Councilman Harrison, and then we're going to kind of close out this portion.
Let's start off. You said you've been the commissioner for 5 years, correct?
5.5.
5.5 years. Okay, 5.5 years. Where are you located? Where's your office located?
2 blocks away.
Exactly. So for 5.5 years, You take one trip in June, right? In 2025, right? And you said your staff in the past had taken pictures. Why have those pictures from your staff never been in the paper? I mean, you yourself brought up the election coming up, right? With a new governor coming in, you're probably going to be out of a job, correct? Correct?
That's
Right.
possible, but irrelevant.
Is it relevant? Because it seems like you have already determined these things, right? But you're so close to here, right? But for 5.5 years, right? You were part with the previous council too. I was part of the previous council. The DEP was supposed to fine the previous council for not passing the bonds. What happened? The DEP never fined anybody. The DEP was going to give us mid-level staffing. Never happened. So, you're talking
No,
a game here.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not, sir, but I'll
Yeah.
answer your question. So legally, there is, from a water quality and Safe Drinking Water Act compliance perspective, there is only the city of Trenton. That there is infighting politically between different arms of that city government is irrelevant to our obligation to ensure your compliance, right? So the fact that there was another city council who wouldn't vote things, I understand that that was a constraint, right? But that is not something that the state can resolve for you, right? It is the job of the city and the folks who represent it to resolve those issues. Clearly, the voters took stock of that issue, but it's not as though the DEP has to fine a council member. That's not the way it works. Just like the DEP does not fine you employees, that is your job.
Right. So you're saying that your previous, who was the commissioner before you? Commissioner McCabe, right?
That's correct.
Right, exactly. So Commissioner McCabe was going to fine the council for not passing the bonds. So I'm guessing you had to read the forms. You had to read the documentation. There is
Sir,
documentation.
I
on it.
was the chief counsel to Commissioner McCabe. I know exactly what happened.
Okay.
And we filed a lawsuit that cited how the council at that time was effectively undermining the public health in this city.
Okay, so you're saying this council has passed every bond and we're moving
No,
forward.
I'm not saying that. You are.
Okay, so what are you trying to, what you're saying is your vision is to come in our city, because you only work over here, right? Your vision is do this and everything will be good. Correct?
That's
your-
not what I've said at all.
That's right. Because I'm telling you right now, you're more of a politician, I think, than any of us up here. Because I'm telling you right now,
I highly doubt that.
you're turning the tables around in this room right now, and it's blowing my mind to hear what you said. We were supposed to reach out to you, but you're so close to us for 5.5 years. You never once, you took one trip, and then those pictures.
Have you been there?
Have I been where? The Trenton Waterworks?
Been in the waterworks?
Yes,
Yes,
I have been
yeah, I
there.
took a tour.
I've been there. Yes, exactly. But
It
I
is
wish the
your
pictures-
job,
and-
not mine.
Okay.
I cannot
Thank
say
you.
this
I
strongly
don't want it
enough.
to go-
So you're
Councilman
right. So you're right. You're
Councilman
wasting our time. Thank you for coming here.
I'm not.
Thank you.
You are.
Councilman.
Oh, my
Harrison, so-
goodness.
So we're going to wrap up this portion of it, but I do just want to make sure that we're clear on what we heard tonight. We did hear that the comprehensive performance evaluation plan has not been completed. You did state that our water quality is currently meeting the safe drinking water standards, so we are in compliance at the moment.
Your water quality results are not your full compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act.
Okay, but Commissioner, you just stated at the beginning when I asked you that we were. So did I misunderstand you when you said that?
But you're misrepresenting the issue and stating
Okay.
it that way. The
But
the
that-
city of Trenton
don't-
is not
we don't talk about it.
compliant with the Safe Drinking Water Act. The city of Trenton remains in serious non-compliance with the Safe Drinking Water Act. You are cherry picking one thing, ma'am.
No. I'm just reiterating everything that was stated here today. I'm only stating what you said earlier today.
No, you're repeating your question of me. You're not
And your
repeating
response
what I
to the
am
question.
saying.
I don't want to be here to attack you, Commissioner. I'm asking the question. We asked the question, and that was your response to us. You said it was of standard. So
I just
like
want to make
said-
sure the record here reflects that the city of Trenton is in serious non-compliance with the Safe Drinking
And
Water
it
Act.
currently states, can I just read just really quickly? Trenton Waterworks is currently under direct operational oversight by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection due to past and ongoing compliance issues. While the NJDEP has confirmed that Trenton Waterworks water is safe to drink based on valid data, including hourly testing at the filtration plants. There have been instances of noncompliance with monitoring and reporting. However, it is in current compliance with the safe drinking water standards. So I'm just stating what's even said here and what you stated. But like I said, we don't need to go back and forth. It's not to go back and forth. I was just trying to make sure everyone understood what was
It's
said.
important because that's only a part of the picture.
Okay.
It's only a part of the picture. There are serious failures beyond that.
Just
There are serious failures.
Mr.
Please don't
Commissioner-
pretend that there's not.
Mr. Commissioner, we also, I know you just stated, I think Council Vice President asked, Council Vice President had touched to it and your response to her was that, you wouldn't be able to help us if we said no. And I see that you're here telling us that you don't want to take it from us. You care about the city of Trenton and the water department and all these things. But as I would think, as you would want to advocate for one, the funding for us to receive it, not just because we're the capital city, but because of your job as our commissioner, two, so that we can increase salaries if we needed to do that to attract the people that we need from outside areas. And then also just advocating for our surrounding municipalities who have outstanding balances with the Trenton Water Department. There are several other municipalities who owe us money. And I'm not saying that's going to fix the entire thing. However, those millions of dollars that are owed to us from our surrounding municipalities that we do serve would help with the improvements of our infrastructure. And that's all. I hear your passion, but you have to understand our passion too. And there are things that we want to see for the residents of our city as well as the other 4 municipalities that we service. So with that, Commissioner, I know there was a lot of back and forth. I'm so thankful that you were able to come here and listen to us and listen to the questions. But I do want to ask if you could please say, oh, sorry, you sure? I do want to ask if you would not mind staying just to listen to some of our public. And I would ask the public who is going to speak to please let's be respectful and not be in an attack mode. However, get your point across, and it's fine for us to, voice our opinions, but I do want it to be done in a respectful manner. And I would really hope that you would stay and listen to the constituents here in our area. Thank you so much, Mr. Commissioner. Can we
Ma'am?
just take like a 2-minute break if you like,
What's that?
I was gonna say maybe a 2-minute break if anyone needs to use the restroom, and then we'll start with the public comment.
That's fine by me, and
Thank
I
you.
will stay for the public comment.
Thank you
wanna
so
hear
much.
What everyone has to say,
Thank you.
but I hope you've also
Director, you wanna
heard
say something?
today what I've said. I care deeply about the public health
Hmm.
and the people in this city, deeply.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner. We'll take a quick 2-minute restroom break. Two, because I'm starting literally in 2 minutes. No, because they gonna leave. Girl, there's 2 bathrooms. Go to the mayor's office. Look. I can't. Cynthia. Right. All right, Mr. Garcia, I think we have 4 members, council members. Y'all ready? We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Councilwoman Williams and Councilwoman Feliciano, y'all ready?
Madam President, I believe we still have a quorum on your phone. We can begin.
Yeah, I'm waiting for one more. Councilwoman Williams or Feliciano was just right there. Oh, there she is right there. I was about to say right there, and then Councilwoman Williams is here.
All right, cool.
Where's Hillary? No, Hillary. So we're ready. We have a quorum now, please.
Madam President, just to make this official, if I could just get a motion to come back into public session.
So moved.
Second.
All say aye.
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 Is there any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Go ahead, Madam President. I understand we are reaching the point of, are we reaching the point of public comment? at this
Yes,
time?
sir.
Okay, thank you. So Madam President, we've reached the point of public comment to the public. Public comment will be 5 minutes for each individual. You may address any item that you wish. The council is not obligated to respond. The first individual listed, excuse me one moment. Is Taya Brown Humphrey.
Thank you. And really quick, as she walks up to the public, like I asked before, please let's be respectful of everyone that is present. Let's state our opinions and our feelings without being disrespectful. I will ask for you to be removed if I feel like someone is being disrespectful to anybody, council or anyone in the public. So thank you so much. If you don't need 5 minutes, please don't feel free to not take it all.
Please also state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Tay Brown Humphrey, I'm with Trenton Waterworks on Route 29 South. I just wanted to emphasize on a couple of points that the commissioner brought up. And also that the council brought up. The water quality leaving the plant meets the Safe Drinking Water Act regulatory requirements. I just want customers, residents, everyone to know that. We were compared to Flint, Michigan and Jackson, Mississippi, which I felt was totally absurd and just a defamation of the Trenton Waterworks character. Yes, all of the pictures weren't pretty. There were some that we do know that we need some improvements done to the facility, but none of them that were shown are affecting water quality. There have been other systems that have been close to not being able to supply water, including one that we were asked to supply water to. because they only have one pump operational in their facility, but they're not being asked to be restructured. There's a system in the state of New Jersey currently right now that is on board advisory for multiple days. They have not been asked to be restructured. Yes, TWW does still have an open water reservoir that is not treated or covered, but we are not the only system in this state. And there are several projects that had to take place prior to decommissioning this reservoir. We've obtained the property across from the reservoir to build storage tanks. We are trying to obtain properties to build storage tanks in the townships. Part of one of the projects that had to be done was the new intake system that we thought would be able to operate during fragile ice incidents, which we found out was not. And it keeps being said that it was operator error. And I just want to correct that it was not operator error. We had staff in that facility operating those blow-off systems for our intake screens 24/7 around the clock and still had issues with fragile ice. So to say that it was operator error was inaccurate. Third-party consultants were hired by the DEP for the TMF, this 360. We've talked about it today that the comprehensive performance evaluation was not provided to us. At our last community meeting that we had in East Trenton, they said that report was done and we would receive it soon. To this date, we still have not received it. With regards to the TMF, it's supposed to be an objective third-party consultant. But I want to just point out just one section of the TMF that talks about the fragile ice incident. Those consultants were not on site or had any knowledge because they came at the end of 2023 and the beginning of 2024. So they had no idea of what the fragile ice incident, which occurred this year in January 2025. But that is in the report. So where did that come from? It's been said that we don't have standard operating procedures, which is inaccurate. I've developed most of the standard operating procedures with my staff at the water treatment plant, which we have provided to the DEP multiple times. Their staff has reviewed our SOPs and they gather information based off of what we've told them and the procedures we provided them. I just want to go back for a second to the fragile ice incident and say that the DEP did not provide, with regards to the emergency pumps, we came up with that solution with our contractor to get the emergency pumps to be able to provide water and also to get a compressor on site to be able to do our blow-offs more frequently. That was not provided by anybody else. That was our staff working with our contractor to do so. It was brought up about the water sample collector, yes, but we are the ones that reported that sample collector's behavior, and the city is the one who terminated him. And all our other sample collectors that have been doing their job should not be punished by the actions of one. He brought up Diasia Brooks and her being a backup operator. We have 7 licensed operators. Our official backup operator is the assistant water treatment plant, Raheem Humphrey, and the environmental engineer, Teresa Pinella. Yes, Diasia Brooks does help out and assist, but that is by her choice, not something that she is forced to do. And it's on her off hours. Thank you.
Dear Brooks.
You want to, thank you. Yep, there you go.
Good evening, council, and thank you for holding this session. My name is Diasia Brooks. I am the chief chemist at Trenton Waterworks. I've been employed with Trenton Waterworks since 2013. It's been a long time. I would like to thank the commissioner and your staff for also coming here and giving the information that you felt necessary to provide. When the oversight began a few years ago, the state came in and they stated that they would work with us. It would be a collaboration. We would all work together to address concerns, a lot of different concerns. Legionella was one of them. In February of 2023, there was a letter that was provided, WAM 220001. In that letter, it stated that Trenton Waterworks would receive a Legionella remedial measures plan to discuss optimization in greater detail. To date, today is August 18th, 2025, we have still not received that remedial measures plan. Legionella is a pathogen that is common in water systems across the world, not just in Trenton Waterworks. This is not a new pathogen. This is a pathogen that is unregulated. It is unregulated. Trenton Waterworks has been a part of, developed a program where we do comprehensive sampling regarding Legionella on our own. The state is not involved in that sampling. They know where we sample, we provide the results, and we also provide the data. Under New Jersey Administrative Code 71011-16, the state requires a minimum detectable chlorine level of 0.3 parts per million. The state of New Jersey DEP is requiring Trenton Waterworks to maintain at least a 1 part per million throughout the system, which we are doing and have been doing for the duration. All of this information is publicly available on Drinking Water Watch. That is the state website. All of our chlorine data is also available. I would like to implore the state of New Jersey, if Legionella is such a risk, which it is, and I agree, the state of New Jersey should consider increasing the requirements for chlorine, not for just Trenton Waterworks, but for every system within the state of New Jersey. Trenton Waterworks is not the only system that has had people who have developed Legionnaire's disease. Legionnaire's disease is common throughout New Jersey. On average, the Department of Health receives between 250 and 350 cases per year, not just in Trenton Waterworks, in the state of New Jersey. I would compel the state to reconsider the current levels that are required within their New Jersey Administrative Code and enforce that throughout the entire state and not just Trenton Waterworks. In addition, on May 15th, 2025, at the East Trenton Collaborative meeting, it was stated that the evaluation was done for the comprehensive performance evaluation, and it was just under review. I've personally Oprah requested this document last year. It was not finished at the time. To date, that has not been provided. Today is August 18th, 2025. It has still not been provided. I'm going to echo what Ms. Taya Brown-Humphrey said earlier. Trenton Waterworks is not the only water system within finished water uncovered reservoir. We are not the only ones. We are, I agree, in violation of covering that, but we do have a Pennington Reservoir Replacement Plan that is going to address that. I am Diasia Brooks, the Chief Chemist of Trenton Waterworks, who holds a T3 licensed operator, which means I am contracted, a licensed contractor of the state. I am working at a facility that does not pay me what I'm worth, but I am working here and I'm providing these results because I care, and I will continue to do my job, and I will continue to follow the law, and I will continue to train my staff because we do have a training program, and my staff is trained on a monthly basis, and they will continue to be trained, and we will continue to be transparent. I personally reported the person who was not doing the right thing, and I will always report someone who does not follow the law. Thank you.
Jerome Wakefield.
Good evening.
Good
My
evening.
name is Jerome Wakefield. I'm the supervising employment specialist for the water utility and also function as the deputy director of operations. I thank you for this opportunity to speak tonight because some of the things here are just simply untrue that have been presented today. All right. I'd like to start out with, don't regionalize, recognize that they're trying to take us over. No matter what they call it, no matter how they try to control the narrative to say it's something else. It amazes me that when you walk into this chamber, and the commissioner had the nerve to allude to it, that what Trenton makes, the world takes. When they made that expression, they did not mean take our utility. Now, they've made the allegation that we don't train. That's false, and I'm responsible for training. And since I've been here since 2023, we provide training internally, externally, not just for our managers, our supervisors, our employees. And we have developed a centralized repository for all our standing operating procedures, which did not previously exist. Now, one of the things that when they talk about regionalization and how it's going to help, we already have a leader in our mayor. But in that change with our mayor, some things have happened. We had a change in the director, Mr. Simple there, who's leading us at the utility. We've had a change, they say, in management, and I came on, at the supervising specialist. We've had a change in the BA, who's directing us in operations and how we collaborate and work things out. And as you know, we have a change in the municipal government, right? For the most part, and we continue with two people who formerly were part of it and now very instrumental. So they should not under or devalue that, okay? So when you listen to the commission, and I know one question brought up by Mr. Harrison, well, when the governor leaves, is your job up? It may not be. He may be leaving soon. I think he is. But when he leaves, don't let him take the water with him, okay? He may have plans to be the director of the MUA. It's out there, speculative or whatever, but whatever it is, this is still our asset. And as Councilperson Williams said, and others, there's value to our asset. Don't give it away. Don't give it to others. Now, the commissioner, I grant, has some ability and oratory skills, but don't be baffled. I was taught in law school, you either dazzle them with brilliance or baffle them with the BS. But he has said some things. For instance, he gave us the scenario. If you go left to right, all right, you got over here, status quo. Over here, you got privatization. And then he said, a little bit to the right, you got regionalization. But what he didn't say between status quo and regionalization was us surviving on our own with help, with investment, with infrastructure. So those things are crucial, right? And so when you talk about, and you have to understand for those that don't, the public, there was a shift. They had their 2-year time frame for doing oversight. So then they send this letter out, how they're pivoting now to compliance and enforcement. I don't care if it's enforcement or oversight, it's not gonna be done if the money ain't right. So you gotta put that investment there, no matter what your excuses for not putting it in there, right? So that's what you have to understand. And so when you come with this regionalization approach under the auspices that they're gonna help us, they're gonna, as he said, support. This was not support, this is supplanting. This is taking over. When he told us there was, if you listen to him, there was a depth of the process. No, this is the death of the process. If you don't stick to your guns and do what's right in this scenario, which you have been doing since you've been here. As she pointedly pointed out, y'all have been voting and supporting things of that nature. You will continue to do it. Your questions and your comments have been very insightful, but don't get baffled. See, but the issue here is not you getting baffled because you educated, qualified, elected people. But I don't want the public to be baffled by some of the things that have been said, but patently false, okay? Because he has the oratory ability. The issue here is, in large part, DEP, who says they're helpful, have been up in our way. they have been blocking certain things. They think that their role is to criticize us. And somehow when they say jump, we supposed to say how high. When they recommend a procedure or process,
Sir.
disagree, we're not being cooperative.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Jerome.
you.
Gotcha. Sean Semple.
Good evening, everyone. Sean Semple, Director of the Water and Sewer Utility. I want to thank the Commissioner and the staff for coming out tonight for this presentation. But I do have something to offer towards this. First of all, I work with a bunch of very qualified, hardworking ladies at the plant. I got guys who are very hardworking. They could go anywhere and get a job. They have the licenses, they have the experience, but they choose to stay in Trenton Waterworks because they love this place. And I'm here with them. I could retire next year, but I'm not going anywhere. I want to see this whole process through. So a couple of things that I'm worried about. We on the brink of catastrophic disaster. But this 2-year study, what's going to happen in the next 2 years while this study go on? Should we be concerned at this point? I'm scared if with the strength of what was said tonight. He means tomorrow the plant could go down. But we're going to wait so long. What's going to happen in that time? Could any company or any entity come and change things? We've been here working very, very hard for the last 2 years. But what the successes of what we've done so far is not being told. Yes, we have work to do, and I have to thank the council. Y'all have approved everything that I've brought in front of you. And I must say, I shouldn't say this, but the mayor might not like it. Had it been the last council sitting there, I would not accept this job. Because I was an employee working under Mark Lavenberg when I saw what he went through with that council. But we are making progress. And I would like the opportunity to continue fighting and making this work. Now, let's talk about Legionella for a minute. I'm not an expert, I'm not a scientist, but I have to take part in every case that is found within our water utility system. What I've discovered with the DOH, and I asked the question at the last meeting, you test the water at the house. We are not privy to know where the cases are, which is fine, there's a HIPAA law. But at the same token, they test these houses. Every case, some cases is not attributed to the water system. I asked them, are you testing the house for any other source that might cause Legionella? Because it's not just water you could get it from. You could get it from the air conditioned systems. Look in Harlem right now. There are almost 100 people in hospital, 4 died from Legionella, from the cooling system. I was told that they're not required to look into other entities, just the water source. That's not fair to us. And it's still, whether the tests come out positive or negative within these houses, it's still a case in Trenton. It don't go away. It's my problem. You know, I don't think we've been treated fairly when it comes to that. Lastly, I'm going to touch on the reservoir situation. The reservoir covenant, yes, we're in violations since 2009. But we have done further study as to the process that was put in place. The cover in the reservoir with a cover, the type of material, the maintenance involved with it, would only last a period of 13 years. So every 13 years, you have to put a new cover in the reservoir. And if anyone knows the geometry of the reservoir, it's very complex. So we choose the route of doing tanks within our system. It's going to take a little more time, but it's the safer and the longer and the best way to move forward with us. And we plan to also build a brand new pump station because our pump station is old. but we're not getting credit for that. Our progress is not being shown at all. We're not being recognized for the good that we're doing. And I would back all my employees right now. Yes, they're not paid enough. The commission is right about, I agree with him on that point. But they love this city, they love this utility. And we're not ready to just give it up like that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Paul Bethea. And then after that is Robin Vaughn.
Paul Bethea, 55 Alden Avenue. First of all, I just came in and got a whip that the water, something wrong with the water, but I've been drinking the water for 66 years. And I haven't got sick, so and I get tested all the time. But the water department is run perfectly. I know that myself. And I would like to ask the mayor. He said something that the mayor was at the table and he knew everything, but he didn't tell us. You see, and where's the money that where the last council was up here, gave a lot of money to the water department?
What? Sorry. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay, huh?
I'm sorry.
That's okay. But anyway, I know. But anyway, where the last time I knew council was up here, they gave a lot of money to the water department for improvements. And where's that money at? And I know, like Sean said, Sean is a good man. Edmund himself been working for the water department. Good quality water out of there. I've been drinking city water for God knows how long. Haven't got sick yet. But it seems like the whole realm of it is that they want to take it. And they're not looking at all the good things about the water. They looking at all the small things. Because everything he said, they checked him on it. He couldn't get out of check. So it ain't nothing wrong with the water. Like last time, the last council was up here, we went to the State House and the mayor had this Chinese guy and he told the mayor that Dr. Shea, I'm sorry, Mayor, I'm sorry, yeah, but the mayor did have to study, but Dr. Shea, he studied and he found out that the lead was coming through the pipes of the house. So what he's saying, and it all's coming around to be that they after the water. And I'm saying to all of y'all, it's in the makings. Because if it wasn't in the makings, he wouldn't have never filed the lawsuit. So what I'm saying to y'all gonna have to lawyer up and deal with it lawyer-wise. Because if you don't, it's serious, if you don't, they're gonna steal it right underneath your feet, just like they did the hospital. It shut down. Brunswick Avenue, same thing. Look at Trenton now. If they take that, what's gonna happen to us homeowners? We already homeless. You got people sleeping in the street. We have no other revenue. And if they take that, guess what? They're gonna take everything you got. But there's one important thing that he failed to mention to y'all. If y'all do solidate, what's gonna happen to their jobs? What's gonna happen to their jobs, their home, their cars? Listen, we're down with y'all. Y'all doing a good job. We ready to fight. Okay? I don't care what they say. We're ready. Let them know. Stay in your office because Trenton residents are ready to fight. Okay? God bless y'all, and I'm leaving something to Robin Vaughn in a minute because I want her to
Thank you, Ms. Bethea.
Robin Vaughn, 1100 Stuyvesant Avenue. Resident and taxpayer. Property taxes contributing to the funding of all the departments, all 9 departments of the city of Trenton, including the Department of Water. $10,700 a year that I contribute to fund our departments, including Trenton Waterworks. That is what Trenton residents do that the townships that we service can never do. We have a tax obligation that backs Trenton Waterworks. We are liable for all those bonds. So that regionalization is unlawful, unconstitutional, undemocratic, and it will never happen. So let me get started here. I just want to play some comments that Mr. LaTourette made that you guys will find very interesting. Hopefully.
Drinking standards. LaTourette testified about Trenton's water supply at an assembly budget hearing in April, where he offered a stark opinion on the Capitol's leadership.
My honest opinion is that the water system needs to be untied from the city government itself. We're going to untie the city, and then we're going to merge them with 4 other municipalities. Who is the expertise? You recruit it. You bring it in. Then why can't DEP do that now? Because no one will work with the city of Trenton.
An anti-regionalization campaign has also begun in Trenton, tied to
Okay. He said that he had an interview with our Assemblywoman, Valina Reynolds Jackson, and she asked him, what is he proposing to do with Trenton Waterworks? And he said, I'm offering you my honest opinion. The water system needs to be untied from the city government itself. So all what he said here was disingenuous, fraudulent. He wants to take it, as Mr. Bethea said, from you guys. I submitted earlier that the New Jersey BPU, the Board of Public Utilities, deem you the board of directors of Trenton Waterworks. You have total authority of that water utility, not the mayor. He should not be out here running roughshod, meeting with the regulator without you guys. Okay? You are the board of directors, and I want the city and the residents and taxpayers to know that. So you have the fiduciary obligation. You have more power than this gentleman. He can't come in here and tell us to do anything with any asset in the city of Trenton. So I would say this is state government overreach, interference in municipal affairs. It violates the New Jersey Home Rule Act of 1917 and the New Jersey Constitution of 1947. Per the United States Environmental Protection Agency, the job of DEP, if our water department is in violation, the EPA or the state can take enforcement actions to ensure compliance, which may include requiring a system to implement corrective actions with an agreed plan and timeline or impose penalties, which the city of Trenton we properly funded against those violations We provided a $450 million 6-year plan submitted to DEP in 2020 when I was on the council. It doesn't include them usurping Trenton voters, the city council powers by issuing RFPs unilaterally that support a state DEP solution. It doesn't allow them to demand a sell to a private corporation like American Water. It doesn't allow him to propose reorganization structures like regionalization. And it certainly doesn't allow him to usurp the 2010 referendum. Strong arming you guys, city council, to force you to relinquish control.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn.
That's your time, Ms. Vaughn.
Next. Okay. Next person up, we have Kathy McBride. Oh, okay. And then after that, we have Miss Clarissa Bell.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Council President. I'd just like to point out a couple things and then I'll get to some real information. The first thing was
your address, Ms. McBride.
Oh, Kathy
Thank
McBride, 46 Laurel Place, Trenton, New Jersey. I want to point out a couple things that Mr. Latour stated when he was here. The first thing he stated was that the mayor sat down with him to write the RFP, which you didn't know because no one told you. The second thing I wanted to point out, he said it's not his job to come here, but his old boss, Catherine McCade, every time she met with the mayor, she met with the council. We never could go as a group because in violation, but we went 3-3-2. My council vice chair, which was Marge Caldwell Wilson, she accompanied me on most of every meeting that I went to. I never did a press conference with the mayor and didn't have my vice chair with me. Then he pointed out something else. He said that he stopped the lawsuit 2 years ago. He stopped the lawsuit 2 years ago that Mr. Bridges sat here and told you that was still in effect. You cannot be dishonest with that body because you represent the body. You or Mr. Kaloji should have told them that that lawsuit was on pause. To not tell them and to be disingenuous about that is a violation because you cannot mislead the council. The third thing, no, we're not doing back and forth. The third thing is, okay, he's violating my time.
Director, can we allow her to finish? Please?
Okay, so the third thing is the city administrator, which is the mayor, the executive branch, and the executive branch of the state, part of the executive branch of the state is DEP. So you have two executive positions. When they come together with the ACO is rules and regulations, they guide us. You have DCA that is over us monitoring everything that we do. You have the infrastructure bill, the infrastructure, let me get that right. The infrastructure bank and the iBank, that is also overseen by the state. So you got the ACO, you got the DCA, you got the infrastructure bank, which is the iBank. And then when you go to make decisions to hire, you have to go through DCA. You got DCA that you have to go through to get approved to bring in people that's making a certain amount of money. Then you have the ACO that's telling you what your violations are. And then you have the Treasury Department, which is the infrastructure bank that is guiding our AAA and our AA ratings. So you have all of these departments from the state under the same umbrella. That is Murphy's umbrella. And they sent their guy here to tell you it's either shit or get off the pot. And I'm telling Murphy and his guy that you don't have the right to pressure this council because the day that you sat down with the mayor to write that RFP, this council should have been notified. You came up here this evening and you were very disrespectful in my eyesight. You were cutting off the council. You were going toe to toe. There's a certain decorum when people come up here in front of you. And the other thing is, you, as the council of this city, represent 84,000 people. They don't have the right to tell you how to vote, how to cast your vote. You cast your vote based on your constituents. If your constituents say, hey, we want to take this to court, then that's where we're going. But the message that I want to send here today is all of those bodies, I apologize, I thought I had turned this off, is all of the bodies that I spoke to you about, the ACO, the DCA, the infrastructure bank, that's all under Murphy. And Murphy sends his guy here to tell you, hey, if you don't do this, we're going to do this. Well, let me tell Murphy something, and you can take this back to him. The residents in the city of Trenton, we are ready to fight. We fought in 2010 to keep this water. Why can't the Trenton have an authority here and we pick the people? Oh, they're so bright out in the townships, we need them on our board. No, I think not. I think that we have intelligent people in the city of Trenton. If you want to form a board, to form it, but don't let nobody come in here and tell you what you should do and how you should vote. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Bryan.
Next person up, we have Clarissa Bell, followed by Jacobus Volkenberg. Thank you.
Thanks for having me to come up and talk, and I want to say good evening to everyone. I don't have to call you by name or titles or anything like that. But
Name and
I
address,
want-
please, miss.
I'm sorry?
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My name is Clarissa Bell, and I live at 154 Girard Avenue in Trenton, New Jersey. And I've been here ever since I was 10. My mom moved to Trenton, and I love Trenton, and I love the people here. And I feel as though if you guys merge with the other townships and they already owe us money, how you gonna do something with somebody that already owed us money? You calling them, they should be paying us the money that they owed us. And maybe we would have something to work with. The state, if I'm not mistaken, unless they don't got caught all up, the state also owed New Jersey. Owed Trenton. And they should be paying Trenton their money. Pay the water work, pay the city of Trenton. And then we might not need DEP if everybody do what they supposed to do. You know, and you guys, I don't feel as though that you're fair. Because just to say, we're not going to get anything from the state, because basically that's what you're saying. You know, and that's what I'm hearing. You know, but you're going to help everybody, all the other cities, but not Trenton. You know, and I think that's so wrong. Just because if you want to be, think about it, just because if we decide to say no, that we're not going to merge, you're just going to take everything away from us. That's all. And they've been trying to steal the waterwork for the longest for years. I mean, we had to go out and vote against this. And this is another thing that I feel as though that the so-called mayor that we don't pick is not doing right by us. You know, he's not doing right by us. This is one of the things I do not like that our mayor is doing. And a lot of other people too. They just not here to speak on it. But they don't say it to me. And you know, I'm gonna let that be it and let somebody else talk. But I just want you guys to vote no on this. I said it at the last meeting, and I'm saying it again. They're being sneaky. But he made it kind of open. This commission, he made it real open. Like they say, if you don't say yes, they're not gonna help us. They're gonna basically get rid of all of you. And everybody in the department, in the water work too, because that's the way the state works. Trust me, I used to work for the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
We have Jacobus Volkenberg. Oh, thank you. Followed by Christopher Romer.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Jacobus Wallenberg. I live in 29 Abernathy Drive in Trenton. Thank you so much, Council, New Jersey DEP Commissioner, as well as your staff. Thank you so much for coming. I know we've been in Target tonight. I think the most important part for me is just to say thank you. Number one, for putting this out in the open. The mayor has asked for this. It's very important. As a resident here, I love this city. Only been here about 4 to 5 years, but I made it my home. It's very important, but we have to keep in mind as well. There's a lot of politics involved, apparently. There's a lot of bad feelings going on as well. But this is our resources for the entire region. It goes above and beyond Trenton, even though that's what we're talking about here. But it is a resource where we're underserving right now that we could do much more with. So I would hope that going forward, that for all of us, that we move forward and we actually turn this into something that we build as Trentonians to help everybody around us. But we need help for that. Most importantly, I'd like to know what the real issues are. Just transparency, openness. Let us know what's really going on. Keep the politics out of it. I'm just a taxpayer. I can't even vote. I'm a foreigner. I came from a country. I come originally from Holland. Water is a resource. It's also a huge danger. We take it out of politics completely. We do not allow that. Yes, they're funded. Yes, it is important. But when it comes down to it, the most important part is take care of the people that it serves, take care of the danger that it poses as well, and then let the politicians take the decisions, because you are chosen by us again to represent us. I implore you to please keep that in mind. Put all the political stuff aside, because it's not important in the long run. It could be 10, we're building something for 20, 30, 40 years from now, for our children's children. And that's what I do believe in. I appreciate you keeping that in mind and helping us with that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Christopher. All right. Miss Carolyn Clark, followed by Miss Marge Caldwell Wilson.
Good evening, Trentonians, Council, Commissioner LaTourette, and staff. It's very good to see you in person. So the first thing I'd like to say is,
Name and address.
I apologize. Caroline Clark, 1812 Riverside. So the first thing is, there was a quote unquote fact versus fiction sheet that was passed around. Presumably it was prepared by DEP. I want to say that the first one under fiction, which says a decision has been made regarding regionalizing Trenton Waterworks, that is not fiction, that is fact. It's in the wrong column, sir, because you issued an RFP, and in that RFP, you said you are looking for an expert in regionalization. There was no proposal. The only proposal was for the person to submit that they were an expert and therefore they were going to charge us for that service. So there was no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That decision was already made. Now on to my prepared statements. So according to the DEP's website, between 2009 and 2018, DEP issued us 2 documentations of non-compliance. Between 2018 and now, they issued us 16 non-compliance. 1 month After Murphy came in, we were placed under consent order. 6 months later, we were in the legislature put up a bill to regionalize Trenton Waterworks. At that point in time, we didn't have any pictures from Mr. LaTourette. We didn't have an employee who failed to do samples. We had none of these violations that we're touting here as the reasons for regionalization. Before any of that happened, a bill was up to regionalize Trenton Waterworks. So a predetermined outcome started in 2018. In 2020, that same bill came up again. In 2022, that same bill came up again. And now that we are almost at the end of Murphy's term, when he thinks there is very little political fallout, now is when he decides he gonna put it up again. So this ain't about safety. If this was about safety, the energy and the effort and the bully pulpit that's being used to force us into regionalization, you would have used that same bully pulpit, the same force, the same energy, and you would have forced us to fix. This ain't about safety. It's about who collects that money. And it's not Trentonians. So I would also like to say that this term of regionalization, it is wrong. This is no regionalization. This is moving wealth from the city of Trenton to richer and wider towns. Regionalization is a work around the referendum. The referendum said you cannot sell. So what do they want to do? They want to slow walk you. It's death by a million cuts. They want to now take that water and put it into the ownership of people who've already indicated they are willing to sell. It's a workaround. Do not be fooled. It's a ruse. It's not about your safety. It's about their profits. I would also like to say that this discussion about Legionellas, please stop it. Again, plenty of people have addressed it. 5 counties had Legionellas. You didn't go and usurp they were serviced by American Water. You didn't try and usurp American Water's Board of Governance, right? So why are we being treated differently? So your position is very arbitrary. You put out an RFP, and in that RFP, you stated that American Water and Aqua Water use Trenton Waterworks' pipe. So if our water is bad, their water bad too. So how are you trying to sell us to them? Okay, so Trentonians, we do have problems, but the solution must meet the problem. We can do it without voter disenfranchisement, because that's what this is. We can do it without the wealth transfer, because this is what this is. And you can just tell us, don't bother with the regionalization study because we ain't regionalizing.
Thank you, Ms. Clark.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Clark.
Up next, we have Ms. Marge Caldwell-Wilson, followed by Ms. Mary Horn. Is you on here, right?
Good evening, Council President. My name is Marge Caldwell-Wilson. I live at 246 Jackson Street. And I'm very happy that the previous speaker mentioned a forensic audit, because the last council did pay for a forensic audit. But the water company and all the paperwork was such a mess, it took them forever gathering materials to do a report. And when they gave us a report, there was at least 6 red flags on that report. And Councilman Harrison should remember that. But when the contract was up and they hadn't completed the audit, the majority of council didn't support it because they didn't want to pay them. So that's a big mistake, because we just threw $250,000 out the window. And I think you need to follow up on that and have them finish that audit, because it can give you a paper trail as to, because I think a lot of the problems in Trenton Water Company has to do with finances and the distribution of funds for certain jobs. Anyway, I just wanted to say that, first of all, to the commissioner, I was very uncomfortable tonight the way you were addressing council, and I thought that you were sort of disrespectful, and I don't appreciate it. This is not your house. Maybe DEP is, but this is our house. And we expect you to respect our city leaders. So I didn't appreciate that. Then we get this flyer tonight from DEP, and it's like a scare tactic. And if you look at who is impacted on that, the customers, 55% of the customers that use Trenton Water come from the suburbs. 45% comes from the city of Trenton. These municipalities don't seem to care the fact that they are customers, and they can't tell us how to do our business and how to spend our profits. So with this regionalization, if they become part of it, we'll have representation on that board. However, they're going to want to share some of the profits when they don't even pay their bills now. So I think that you really need to start taking a long look at this, because we've been down this road before. We had a referendum in this city, and the people of the city of Trenton spoke and said, we do not want to change what we're doing with this water company. The city of Trenton runs it. This is ours. This is where we get our revenues from. So don't be fooled by the fox coming in out of the hen house, because let me tell you something. This has been going on for years, and shame on you, Governor Murphy, because you've got your minions out there trying to do your job for you, and we know what's going on. So I ask you to think about this very strongly, council members, and I appreciate everything you had to say tonight, but you've got to think about this. This can be fixed, and we don't need them telling us what to do with our water company. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Ms. Mary Horn, followed by Ms. Elisa Robinson Carter. Thank you.
Good evening, council. I'll only be 5 minutes. So I feel like I got water on the brain because this subject has been
Name and address, please.
Mary Horn, Parkside Avenue, Trenton.
Thank you.
Again, I feel like I have water on the brain because we've been talking about our water utility forever. 2010, 2018, thank God for Robin Vaughn for that year, and now 2025. Now, when I read where generally Legionella generally doesn't cause health risk if a person drinks the water. Also, I read where Minnesota had 17 cases in 2004 and 115 in 2016. Now, the people that are most susceptible to get the Legionnaires are people who are 50 years or older. They're men, they're smokers, or have a lung disease. They're compromised by the water if they drink it and it has the Legionnaires. Also, I read the article where Clemington has been having dirty water off and on for the last, they're saying for the last 10 or more years. I find it strange that the DEP is not overreaching and trying to look for oversight on Clemington's water. So, and they're still having the issue. They said they reached out to the DEP and the DEP asked them to file a complaint, and that's where it's at right now. So, and having said that, I just like to say that the council, if we're doing our job and you do your job, we can't let someone just come in here again and try to take our Trenton Water Works. I know the Trenton Water Works has the option to buy water in cases of emergency, such as the frozen river and that happened, an emergency. So The work is always ongoing with Trenton Water Works. It doesn't cease. And I believe they're doing, I don't believe, I know they're doing a good job. Trenton Water Works is a self-liquidating utility, and we generate millions of dollars a year to pay their employees, you know, for maintenance, separately from the city's debt fund. Sorry, I'm just throwing on where I'm tired. But having said that, I'm glad to live in Trenton. Trenton is a great city. And our waterworks is our major asset here in the city. And those jobs at Trenton Waterworks should go to Trentonians. Those are the ones that should be working here. We're not only ratepayers, we're taxpayers too. We're owners of the waterworks. But it comes together to say this, if the township wants to have the say-so on our waterworks, they might as well just walk in, take our house keys and go live in our homes. Do that, come do that. And then we'll leave home and walk out and walk the streets and try to find somewhere else to live. You know, the townships, we don't need for the townships to tell us what to do with our waterworks. We have staff that are very knowledgeable and know what to do. And like I said, yes, we have some issues, but it's ongoing. So we're working with that. The work is ongoing and we'll get it done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes, who's the next person?
Miss Elisa Robinson Carter.
Thank you. And while Ms. Lisa is coming up forward, Director Bridges wanted me to inform the public that the status of the current litigation, there's a copy of it at the back table if anyone would like to see it. She's not here. George.
Yes, she left. So up next we have Stephanie Robinson.
Oh.
All right. Followed by Miss Diane Collins. Please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Robinson. I don't have an address because due to homelessness. The guy that was talking about realization, I still feel as though like I went to a meeting at the school a while back. The DEP admitted that we have been doing lovely with our water. So I don't know what this complaint all of a sudden about you want to do realization and these towns owe us our money. I still want to do a class action lawsuit against these towns because they owe us our money. How can you, what that saying, it costs to be the boss. You want say so, you have to pay for it. You don't pay for it, you have no say so. That's just how I feel about that one. I don't like the commissioner's attitude. I think it's very disrespectful. I think he's just here, like they said, everyone said, due to Phil Murphy. I don't care for him. I'm very happy that he will be gone and I will never have to see him again. I have also some other complaints. I like the fact that we have been doing a great job with our water, but I don't like the fact that we've been underfunded for so long that now all of a sudden you want to come and complain about our water. But now we're doing all of a sudden because we're doing a great job now. Now you want to come and become, Captain Save-'em? That's an insult to us. I don't like that you undermine us Trentonians with your attitude. I don't like the way they spoke to the council people. Shout out to y'all for answering a lot of our questions of how we felt and defending us and having our back. No, I don't want realization. I don't want no township having no say-so. I don't care how they feel. I would rather them have their own, build their own water reserves than to touch ours if they feel so strongly about our water. But yet we're doing great job to the best of our ability, but yet being underfunded for so long. Another thing, I noticed when you ask certain questions, we can't speak about that. I don't care for the person who keeps saying it. I would love for him to be voted out. He know who he is. I'm not going to even say it. What else I would like to say about the water? I just wish that we would have the funding for our water. I don't want to hear no excuses on why we can't have it. I don't like the fact that we keep being blocked, all these doggone excuses because you want to control. Y'all say about realization, I feel as though what's going to happen is we're going to have less say-so. We're not going to have no control of the water. Then we have to go to New Jersey Supreme Court to cry about how we don't have no control, how they're going, all they care about is having our money, and then that's about it. I want no realization. I would like for us to keep our water as our greatest asset. I love this town, and that's about it.
Thank you, Ms. Robinson.
Up next, we have Ms. Diane Collins, followed by Mr. George Daniels. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name is Diane Collins. I live in East Trenton. And I wanted to say that I think that the mayor has done a good job so far. He's been here 2 terms, and I think they've done a good job. And I really appreciate it. I really appreciate this meeting. It's the first time I've ever been to a meeting like this for about the water. I'm 72 years old, never been sick by this water. This water has taken me, I'm alive, I don't have no bumps, no marks, no nothing on me because of that water. That water takes care of the plants, takes care of the squirrels, takes care of all the animals out here. And we water our yard and everything. So I just wanted to let you know that whatever you make a decision to take care of the water, I think it's okay the way it is. But there are things that need to be fixed. But if we have money, give us the money, we'll take care of it. We don't need a whole bunch of people coming here to take care of us. We take care of ourselves. That's what Trenton is for. And thank you very much for listening to what I have to say.
Thank you so much.
Up next, we have Mr. George Daniels. All right. Could I have Mr. Darrow Blues-Navage? Oh. Miss Darrow.
She's walking.
Followed by Mr. Brady Rivera.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Daryl Blusnavich. I live at 34 Perdicaris Place, Trenton, New Jersey. I'd like to thank the commissioner for being here tonight for a hostile meeting. I wanted to make a point that this is the asset. The Trenton Water Works is the asset of the city of Trenton. If the other municipalities, Ewing, Hamilton, Hopewell, and Lawrence, want to have equal say, and since our Waterworks is a multi-billion-dollar company, then I think that each of these municipalities should put in $1 billion if they want to have ownership. If you want the ownership, you got to pay for it. It's our Waterworks. I'm not saying that we shouldn't meet with them and discuss concerns and issues, but ultimately it's our utility. The reservoir cover. I understand it's a terrorism threat, and I believe longer than we've had violation with DEP, that it's been a question for a long, long time. But I'm not sure, but it's gravity feed because it's up higher than everything else. And there's a lot of talk about potential long-term electric outages. And if that happens, they can gravity feed the water and we'd still get it, whereas most other places would not. So you got to weigh that as another issue. And again, it's going to take a while to follow through and finish up. I'm also concerned that there's a concern about the people that are running the waterworks, especially that they're women. And secondly, that they're minorities, that they're Black. Just because of whatever they are, if they're very qualified and capable, which obviously they are, or they wouldn't be meeting the water quality standards, that would try to rush them out. It's also believed that if they do sell the water bill, the water utility, that our cost is going to go up significantly, which is going to be a problem for everybody in all of the municipalities. And I have a concern as a New Jersey certified fire inspector and fire official that we have fire suppression. Currently, all the fire hydrants are functioning to the best of my knowledge. Lahaina, Hawaii, California wildfires, major issues with water fire hydrants. They lost entire areas of the city. Can you say that if it's regionalized, that can you guarantee that our fire hydrants are all going to work and we're not going to have it in Lahaina or California? And that's, I want to thank the mayor and council for being on top of this and trying to keep our utility as our own. Thank you.
Thank you.
Up next, we have Brady Rivera, followed by Nicola Tatum. Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Brady Rivera, 704 East Brown Street. I want to thank council, mayor, commissioner for being here tonight. Clearly, it's a very long night. And everyone who's still here. So for me, on the issue of regionalization, I see that we clearly have a regional issue going on that affects Trenton, Hamilton, Ewing, Lawrence, Hopewell, everyone who uses Trenton Waterworks. And one of the things that I really do have an issue with is just I hear a lot of issues coming about from within Trenton Waterworks. I have not heard many voices from people who use Trenton Waterworks and receives water coming out of Trenton Waterworks here tonight. And so I used to work for the Hamilton Health Department. I was a translator there. I went out to houses that when children came back with blood tests that they had high levels of lead in their blood. And a lot of these houses affect my parts of the town. I currently live in Hamilton, but I am a son of Trenton. And there's a concern there that is definitely connected to the water. And the thing is that we don't even get the full picture coming out of that because the only houses I have to go in, I had to go in to inspect. I don't currently work there anymore. I resigned back in August of last year. Is that we only get cases that have 5 micrograms of lead in their blood, and that's all we had to go out for. But a lot of these houses are connected to the same water pipes that I am currently connected to. And there's a lot of remediation here that I think needs to come from the Trenton Waterworks end. Because one of the issues I've heard tonight is definitely the issue of cost and money. And I think that, when it comes to that, there's definitely lack of funding that's going into Trenton Waterworks, but there's also a lot of issues coming out of Trenton Waterworks that we cannot pay for. For example, that my girlfriend, her family had to shell out between $3,000 and $4,000 to get tested, failed every test, and get remediation for that water. But a household like mine can't do that. So we're stuck with the water that we are dealt with. My whole family, including my dog, don't drink the water coming out of the faucet. We drink the water coming out of the filtered water in the fridge. But how many households within Trenton and without Trenton can actually do that? I was helping out fixing a household right by Washington Elementary School, and there's a lot of hard water issues. And so for me, I do think that the issue of regionalization is not incorrect. We have a regional issue that requires a regional solution. A user like myself don't have a voice here technically. I can come up to you guys as individuals. But because I am a Hamilton resident, you technically don't have an obligation to me or my opinion, which, legally I respect. But if we want to hear all the other issues out, we can't just talk about we are Trenton, we are Trenton. We can solve every issue by ourselves. I think that is extremely small thinking, and it only damages us because for how many decades have we been in the same issue? And we are still dealing with the same issues now that we were dealing with 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. I think that we definitely need to hear more from the other residents and the other governments that have to use this water. I hear that everyone is saying that, if, Hamilton or Lawrence, Ewing, there's debt there. But I think when it comes to the issue of regionalization, well, now they do have an obligation to pay into Trenton Waterworks. And I don't see that as a negative. I see that as a positive. We need to obligate them because at the moment, we're only asking, can you please give us the money back? And clearly they haven't. That is an issue. But if we have an issue, but if we kind of come together and do an issue of regionalization, bring the others, there's going to be more of a legal obligation for them to put in their money as long as that's the structure. I think we need to talk about that. We should bring them in, make them pay their fair share. Absolutely. And if anything, we shouldn't be going in on this alone. There's a lot of trauma, I think, that we have when it comes to our relationship with the surrounding suburbs and the state. And to me, it's not sad. It's correct. But right now, when we have a helping hand coming towards us and telling us, hey, here's some solutions that we can look at, we shouldn't be kicking that hand away. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady.
Up next, we have Nicola Tatum, followed by Kajeem Gaines.
That's Kasim.
Oh, I'm sorry. Kasim Gaines.
Nicola Tatum, North Trenton. Good evening to the council and fellow Trenton residents. I want to thank the council for creating a space for the residents to hear from the commissioner directly. I want to start by saying that water is a basic necessity of life. We all need it in order to survive. So I am never in the favor of turning our asset over to a profit-driven organization because it's something we all need to live. The commissioner referenced the report several times that all came to the council members. I wanted to know if that report can be made available to the public so that we could also see it if possible.
I think it is public, right? Public.
Also, some of the things that I heard tonight, raised some red flags for me and concerns. One of them being the mention of the RFPs. He mentioned there was two. One being one that he said he sat and he was drafting with our mayor. And then there was another one he mentioned that you all weren't aware of that was looking into certain things. If that RFP was put in place, isn't the council supposed to approve RFPs before any funds could be expended? So if that is the case, I think that's something that council really needs to look into because it sounds like no one was aware of that. And I don't know how that is happening because that will be, not running the government and following the correct process and procedures that are set by government. Also, he mentioned, there was a mention of the various levels of approvals that the city of Trenton is subject to by Department of Community Affairs. But then the commissioner also mentioned that there was funding that was possible for the water's infrastructure and that you were not eligible based on not submitting timely and things of that nature. If the state is in place to help the city and you have all these different levels of state intervention, why would the city still not be eligible for funding if you're literally approving every single dollar that the city is spending? If you're in place and everything has to go through state approval, why still are you not eligible for any funding? So that's a question that I think the council really needs to look into and ask. And with regards to legal counsel, it seems like you're going to sit here and starve us till our system is just completely bankrupt and then tell us something's wrong with it and then take over it. And that's just not right. Also, city council, what process is being put in place to collect any of the pass-through balances from these municipalities that want to have a say? Like, we need to, in addition to a whole lot of other things, I can't go so long without paying my bill before you threaten to cut it off. So I don't know why that doesn't apply to any other municipality, and that's all I'll say to that. Regarding the matter of regionalization, in the report he mentioned there was left to right, meaning left went as far as I'm tongue-tied and tired, sorry. And to the right, it was privatization. Are these towns, and it was asked, and I'll ask again, what will be their capital contribution? You can't have a seat at the table and not contribute. And then also, he mentioned assets that the other municipalities would bring to the table. I think before you could even consider that, you have to look at what assets, if there are any, they're bringing to the table. Because if they don't have assets and they're not contributing, how do they get to benefit from the resources that Trenton has? The city of Raleigh-Durham was mentioned, and I did take some time to look at while sitting in here. I just want to say they maintain ownership and control of its water and watershed assets. This means that they now support the other surrounding communities, but they have not relinquished their assets. So when they are using examples of other towns, understand the whole process that went into them also regionalization. And also lastly, I'll just say this, if our system is so bad, if it is so horrible, why would any private profit-driven company want our asset if it's that bad?
Thank you. Up next, we have Kasim Gaines. Followed by Jennifer and Gaud. Apologies for the mispronunciation.
Cool. Kasim Gaines, City of Trenton resident and employee at the water filtration plant for the last 15 years. I personally have seen the growth of the filtration plant. I have personally trained at the filtration plant. So when the man says there's no training going on, there's training going on because I have been trained. Okay, I went from a laborer and now I'm the acting supervisor of maintenance. So I said that to basically tell y'all don't believe the falsehoods, right? They want to come in and take your piece, your whole pie and divide it and then give it to other people for absolutely doing no work at all. We have done all the work there and they want to give 5 pieces of pie and make you have 1 piece so that the other 3 pieces or 4 pieces could outvote you at any given time. All right. So don't fall for the okie doke. They say they want to help us. They don't. When has the state ever came in and helped us? They already failed us with education, right? The state is already based on education, and they don't even have programs to train kids that's coming out of high school to be into water treatment or water distribution, right? So the state has failed us there. So for the state to come in and say, "Oh, we're going to make you a regional, whatever distribution power, whatever they want to try to do is falsehood because they never cared about us and they still don't care about us and we still pay our taxes to them every year. Okay. So I advise this body to not fall for the okie doke. They brought somebody in here that looks like the vice president and speaks like the vice president, but he'll sit here and tell you lies like the vice president and put propaganda out there by the vice president. He told you he only visited the filtration plant once. So he's going basis off of hearsay to make his recommendation. Hearsay, because he only been there once, right? So when the DEP comes in the building, we are training them on how treatment works. They don't know how systems work around there. They don't know what chemical gets injected where into the system until we explain it to them. because we are in a unique water filtration plant. We are not like any other. We are bigger, all right? And we are a surface water filtration plant. All right, we get our water from the Delaware. Nobody asked him, does any other water source besides the Delaware get used and tested for all those diseases or whatever that they claim that's coming out of our water? That's infactual. Okay, we are a surface water plant. There's not that many in the country. So we are unique in standards, we are unique in treatment, and we are unique on documenting every little thing that comes out of that building. And I support Taya 100% ever since she became the superintendent. Bust my behind, train other staff members, keep other staff members in line. All right, I do all that. All right. And I have a recreation degree, not an engineering degree, not a degree in maintenance and finance. I learned everything that I needed to learn by working at the filtration plant and being trained by professionals like Taya Brown, Humphrey, and the former superintendent and my former maintenance supervisor. So I have a minute left, and I'm going to use my minute to more implore you, don't believe the hype. They are trying to do what they are trying to do all over the country is take over things that belong to us as a community and use it for themselves, because there's only a certain amount of things in this world that people can profit off of, and the water utility is one of them. They're trying to take our resources away from us, right? We don't have an energy plant. We don't have any other exported thing besides people, you know what I'm saying? So they're trying to take that away from us and let other people basically enjoy the fruits of our labor. All right, I'm good with that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Up next, we have Jennifer and Audi, followed by Simon Lopez, and then Fred Costanzo. Got three.
That was three. I don't know.
Right.
Who's coming up.
Simon Lopez.
Yeah, that's fine.
Simon Lopez, 228 Highland Avenue, Trenton. Thank you, Council and Department of Environmental Protection, and of course, all of the citizens for showing up today. I have not come to a conclusion on, what I want. I know my ideal is that we keep the Trenton Waterworks as a community. I'm born and raised in the city of Trenton. And so this conversation has been very fruitful for me. I'm learning a lot, and I'm getting sources straight from where I need to get them. And so firstly, thank you all for that. So from what I understand, the struggle of Trenton Waterworks, as per the Department of Environmental Protection, is staffing capacity, or aka not enough staff, aging infrastructure that cannot be easily replaced or maybe even replaced at all, and organizational challenges, whether that is internal management or external bureaucracy. That seems to be what I'm hearing is the problem. What I do find interesting about the infrastructure topic is, what does regionalization really propose in regard to changing or improving? Because if regionalization is the answer, are we still utilizing the current infrastructure of Trenton Waterworks to accomplish regionalization? And if that's the case, then why do we need regionalization? The other thought there is, if the other cities, and I understand, right, you're paying for the water, you want more say, totally reasonable. Yet if they want more influence and power over it, we talked about capital and ownership having to put in. What can we provide in terms of allowing that, which ultimately sounds like it would end up being regionalization anyway, right? Except what we're doing is making sure that they paid for ownership if we look at it from a privatized perspective. Yet why can't they also take that money and pay for their own infrastructure to build something of their own? And so when I consider regionalization, no matter what we currently have has to be used. It doesn't seem like they're going to go from scratch, because they could have, if they would have, they would be doing it now. They wouldn't be pushing regionalization. And so that's one of my confusions about why that is the solution. I am curious to know what the other options were, because I have not read into the reports. And so hopefully I'll be able to do so soon, now that I'm seeing where this conversation and where things are going. I have more notes here, but I'm gonna, in no particular order, mention other things that I thought of during the conversation. For example, with the lead service, like pipe replacements, the group that we contracted, I understand, was charged, or not charged, but accused of defrauding Newark for similar work and not actually having replaced lead pipes there. And so I did hear that we had delays in that project, and I think it's important that we at least acknowledge who the vendor is, and if there are delays, understanding why those delays are there, and just having a more holistic conversation. One moment. I do think that there are very valid cases about the systems that were brought up today. And so, yes, the water as it stands is drinkable. I'm born and raised here. I've been drinking the water my whole life. I started off tap. Now I have a filter, right? But it's still the same water I've been drinking since a child. But government, organization, management, infrastructure, these are real concerns that need to be addressed. And I would like to see a plan proposed by the city on how we're going to do that, something that's publicly published, not just from the Department of Environmental Protection, but something that is driven by the city and not adopted by the city from environmental protection. Of course, that is a great groundwork, but that should not be where it ends. Because if the water's working now, that's okay. But I kind of thought of the analogy of a car with a check engine light. The car is still driving, but if there's signals saying that there's a problem, that doesn't mean we can ignore them. And so I do think that a lot of the concerns are important to address. Now, I don't want my experience to be king, because I do think the evidence demonstrates there are deficiencies. But again, I have never been sick or noticed any poor water as a resident that's born and raised in the city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And up next, in our last public commenter, we have Fred Costanza.
What's the last one?
Close. Almost forgot it. Please state your name and address. Thank you.
Fred Costanzo, 11 Cadwalder Drive, in the great city of Trenton, New Jersey. Council, Commissioner, thank you for being here. I worked for Trenton Water back in the 90s, so I have a little idea of what goes on at Trenton Water. Back in the 90s, we had problems, but nothing major, nothing we couldn't take care of. And as the commissioner stated, sometime in the later 2000s, we started having problems. What happened? Still the same plant, still the same system. Something happened. The people leading the waterworks at that time left. General Superintendent and Chief Engineer, Mr. Cacalori, then Mr. McIntyre, and unfortunately we lost Mr. Hogan, who was Director of Public Works. People that came in after that, I left, I lost my job here, okay, which was very upsetting. But I stayed in touch with people in the water utility and understood what was happening for the next 10 years. But for the last 25 years, after I left here, I worked for utility management companies. We went in and managed utilities. We're the people that would love to come in here and take over this system. And I've seen it happen in many places. I worked from everywhere from South Jersey up into New Hampshire and over to Erie, Pennsylvania. We never got called in to help a water utility that was doing well. We always got called in to help a utility that was failing. And in some respects right now, this utility is failing. You can see it, we hear it, and I will tell you, it is not the people on the ground working, like the people that have come up here and spoke that work at the filtration plant. 98% of the people that I've seen on the ground in any utility are hard workers, doing their job and trying to do their best. Everything is always crumbled from the top down. So we have to look at what is going on. Now, we can sit here or stand here and discuss everything that's been going on tonight, everything we've heard tonight, but that's not going to get us anywhere. We're here right now. This is where the utility is at this moment in time. We got the DEP sitting in our lap. We got 4 other municipalities that would love to come in here and help us and take over this water utility. And God knows we don't want that to happen. This is one of the best water utilities that I've ever seen, and I've seen probably 50 or 60 water utilities. But what's got to happen right now is the people that are sitting right here in front of me, it's up to you to get this water utility back on its feet. No matter what that takes, you have to get the people in this utility that know how to run it and know how to run it right from the top down. And that's the only way you're going to get this utility working again. And you have to do it for the people of the city of Trenton. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Council President, we've reached the end of public comment. Or would you like us to proceed to?
Right, so before we go to civic comment, I wanted to, we have a resolution,
Sure. Would you like me to read that by title?
please.
All righty. Resolution making application to the local finance board, Resolution 25-313, resolution making application to the local finance board pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-45.3 EE in the amount of $12,603,064.03.
May we have a motion to approve?
Madam President,
Council Vice President?
thank you. I'm not sure if we have to go through with the motion before we open up for comments.
No,
Do we? Okay.
no, we gotta do the motion, right? Yes.
Second.
Motion, there to go.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
thank you.
moved by Councilwoman Feliciano and second by,
Frisbee.
thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you.
ahead.
Can we have someone from the administration come to explain?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good evening, council members. Colin Cherry, Assistant Business Administrator.
Evening.
So this application is similar to what we did last year, and we will probably need to do for the foreseeable future. It is the state of New Jersey imposes a 2% cap on increasing appropriations. We're able to increase that to 3.5% with what they refer to as a cost of living ordinance, which this council did adopt at the beginning of this year. So this resolution represents our request to submit an application to the local finance board to exceed that 3.5% appropriations cap to the tune of $12,603,064.03.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are there any questions from council? Councilman Williams?
Councilor, thank you. Just real quick, just to make sure we all understand, if this does not pass, what would be the ramifications for public safety, sir?
Well, I can't speak exactly.
Sure.
But we would have to reduce our in-cap budget by at least this $12.6 million. So we'd have to make cuts to things outside of things like insurances and debt services. I can't tell you what exactly we'd cut yet. We haven't prepared for that, but it would represent a $12.6 million.
So theoretically, there could be a reduction in personnel.
It could theoretically, it would lead to draconian cuts in some way.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Anyone else? CVP?
Yes, thank you. I see on page 2 of the waiver request application, and I'm only just asking just to, for the public's, inquiries. It says regarding the taxes, DLGS is requiring the city to increase the municipal tax levy by 2%. And then it says that it's important to note that the city's current tax levy is a little under 2.3 million under the tax levy cap. And if this waiver is approved, there will be no tax impact on Trenton residents.
That's correct. Our transition aid application and our transition aid MOU with the state, with DCA, requires that we increase our tax rate by 2%. We have done that. Whether this is adopted or not, that will not change. All this will say is essentially that we would have $12.6 million that we couldn't actually appropriate. So we'd have to make reductions to our appropriations to account for that.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that's it. Roll call, Hardhat, please.
Sure. Roll call. Council Vice President Edwards,
Yes.
Councilwoman Feliciano,
Yes.
Councilwoman Figueroa Kettenberg,
Yes.
Councilwoman Frisbee,
Yes.
Councilman Harrison,
Yes.
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes.
and Council President Gonzalez.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thank you. So I'm gonna just kind of jump out of order. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, we want to civic comment.
Okay.
Jump out of order really quickly. Councilwoman Figueroa Kettenberg, you have anything to say? You want to go first? Yes.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everybody who's still here. Thank you again, Commissioner, and your staff for coming and speaking. Some things were found out tonight. It was good. I just wanted to address the Legionella thing one more time. I had talked about Legionella in the city or in the county, and I believe that Commissioner said that he'd never seen an outbreak as big as that in Mercer County. However, there were 7 cases in 2023 in Mercer County, 4 cases the prior year. There were 21 cases in 2023 in Middlesex County and 20 cases in Union County in 2023. You were the commissioner at that time, just to be clear. And I also wanted to make comment. I think Mr. Brady had said that where are the other residents that this affects? I know you spoke to regionalization and you're in favor of it. This is a public meeting. It was put out in public. Where are those other residents? I'd like to know. And where are those leaders? Where are the leaders of the other municipalities that want to take over and want to regionalize, but they're present in the city of Trenton at our parties, at our political events, and they're sipping our tap water in between having drinks. So I'd like to see them here if they want to have a say. Thank you. So having said that, we all share the same ultimate goal, safe, reliable water for every household we serve. But I want to be clear that Trenton does not need to give up its water system to achieve that goal. We need the state's partnership, investment, and fair oversight to strengthen Trenton Waterworks, not strip our community of control. Regionalization would take decision-making out of the hands of those most impacted. That is neither fair nor just. We need DEP to stand with us to fix what we need fixed and to maintain our ownership and our voice. Trenton Waterworks needs partnership, not a takeover. Our water belongs to the people of Trenton. It must stay that way. With that being said, I want to thank you all again for staying this late tonight. And I want to thank my council colleagues for asking the tough questions. And again,
even though we don't agree with everything DEP has brought to us, I want to thank you guys for coming. I want to thank you guys for answering the questions and for staying the full night. That is very commendable. Thank you very much.
Councilman Feliciano.
Council President. Sorry.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying tonight. Thank you to Commissioner Lavalette. Did I say it right? LaTourette. No, it's not all right. LaTourette, I'm sorry. I was late. I'm sleepy, but still no excuse. Thank you, Commissioner LaTourette. And then to your staff for being here, everyone from DEP. To the community for being here. Thank you so much for Trenton showing up tonight and saying something. We appreciate that. Y'all know this ain't easy work, but it's necessary, and it is just what it is. I've said what I've said from the beginning. I say it again tonight. I'm not with the regionalization. I believe that we can do better. I believe that we must do better. I believe that the public health and safety is definitely important, but I also believe that the state should step up and help us instead of continuously trying to hinder us. I know that there were times where it was said that DEP was saying that we needed certain employees or certain people in the water department, but then DCA was not signing the waivers to allow that to happen. I asked for a meeting where we would have DEP and DCA in the room with us at the same time. That fell on deaf ears. That meeting never happened. This council has been trying for the longest time to get to the bottom of a lot of things just so that we can understand exactly what's happening, so that when we come forward to make a vote, we've done our research, we've asked the questions. And while it is easy to say, read the report, do this, do that, if we had been a part of some of the process early on, then maybe we wouldn't be here in this long extended meeting here tonight. And all we asked for was just somebody to just tell us what is happening so that we can hear the whole picture and understand. I do want to shout out our council president again for arranging for the tour for us to go over to the filtration plant. Thank you for that, right? It's efforts like that that help bring us all full circle so we understand what's going on. There's never anything wrong with gaining information and knowledge before you go ahead and make a determination on things. I do want to say that of the revenues that the city had gotten from the waterworks, right? I had asked for the contributions to the various departments and everything like that. And this year it was said that it would be $1,524,496 that would go to various departments that support the waterworks. And then there was $2.6 million that go in the general fund, right? So we're talking about $4,100,000. What happens to that money if we regionalize? This was money that was going into our budget. This was money that was going in to help the city of Trenton. We're already getting transitional aid from DCA. I know that it was said that, oh, if we regionalize, the municipalities would come forward and then they would give us money towards the asset. Well, anytime you're getting money towards an asset, you're not keeping it, you're selling it. Why would you give us money for something that we would be keeping? And then there was not a full valuation of the asset itself. I'm talking about pipes and meters and everything that we would own. What does that number even look like to even make it make sense? What happens to our workers if we were even to go along with something like this? I'm just not willing to roll the dice and just say, go ahead and put these people out of work. What does that mean for the local unions for 2286, 2281? What does that mean for the contracts? What does that mean for the people? What does that mean for Trenton? Again, I concur with my colleague that spoke. We need to keep it. We need collaboration. We need help. I'm still curious about what happens, if we say no to this. Is that bill already ready to go? Are we going to see it? Y'all remember me asking the question, and remember it when you see it come forward. Sometimes some things are already done. Sometimes some things are already done. I'm here to say I'm not done fighting for our city. I'm not done fighting for our people. I'm not done standing with you. That's not what you put me here for, and that's just not what I'm willing to do. So again, I thank you all for coming out. I thank you for your time. I thank you for those that stayed with us tonight and for those from here that came. And I do want to shout out Mayor Patricia Farmer, the Lawrence mayor. She was here tonight and she has been to the town hall meeting that y'all had at the school. She has been the only one that has been present from the other municipalities that is the mayor that has come to see and hear for herself. So I do want to shout her out for bringing forth and making the effort to be here with us. God bless you all. Good night.
Thank you. Councilwoman Frisbee.
Thank you, Madam President. So I want to again thank you, Commissioner, and all of your staff. I want to acknowledge you for being out here this evening. I know this isn't easy, but it isn't easy for us as well. We are fighting. I just wanted you said a couple times for us to read. You wish we would please read. I want to read something regarding Legionnaires. In recent years, Hamilton Township, Mercer County, New Jersey, has experienced multiple outbreaks of Legionnaire's disease, a severe form of pneumonia caused by the bacteria. There were 4 outbreaks, one of which ended up in death, was a fatality. I also want to say that they were tested. There was an old building that was tested. They did 20 tests. Of those 20 tests, the majority came out to be found out that they actually had it in the building. Going to what Director Semple was saying, it's not just in the water. It is also in different areas. It's also in the buildings. So when you say that it has not been any information so big as what has been in Trenton, there have been. There also have been outbreaks, and as my colleague said as well, 20 outbreaks in Union County. There were 21 outbreaks in Middlesex County. And there's a lot that's going on. I have to say that when I feel like I am having a rug pulled out from underneath me, I fight back. And that's what I felt like this evening. I felt like you were saying one thing, and then I want to thank Robin Vaughn for coming up and playing that tape for us, because that's something that had been out there. And now to have it not only hear it, but then to see it as well. And you blatantly said on there that it was for us to actually take our water. It's better not here in Trenton. And then you come up here and you've said it, I don't know how many times, that you're not here to take our water. Well, we know that that's what the tape said. So I'm not going to go back and forth. You and Assemblywoman Valina Reynolds Jackson, she asked the question. I'm going to go back and actually listen to the whole thing in its entirety. And I ask everybody to do the same thing, because I like to deal with the actual facts. Bottom line is, we are the capital city. You said it was a catastrophic failure. I don't know if you were talking referring to Patterson's 200,000 customers who have been without water for over a week now. I believe they're slowly getting it back on, but there are a lot of things that have been going on. And it seems like the highlights are only on Trenton. I feel like we are being set up to fail. We've been fighting, and we have been making a lot of corrections. We have some of the best, I can't call them workers, our chemists. We have some of the best educated individuals in our water department, and it is being treated as though they are incompetent. They are far from incompetent. And when given the proper utility, the proper tools, we can do anything. Only thing we need to do is be equipped. That doesn't mean that we want to have a takeover. It does mean that if you see something, or even here's a better idea for me, don't come in and tell us what our problem is. Come in and have a conversation with us so we can come to a mutual. There may be some things that you don't even know about that we can bring to your light, to light with you as well. Let's have a conversation. And there should never have been a conversation going on with you, the mayor, and anybody else without our council president at the desk, at the table. I have to say that. She's the president of our body. And for her to not have been invited to the table one time, I find that disheartening and dismissive, disrespectful. Just going to put that out there. It is not, again, to be combative. It is to just give you my truths right now. And I thank everyone who came out. I thank you for your opinion, Grady. There should have been a lot more people out here. As they said, this was a public forum. We didn't just put it out there. It was put out there with ample time and different medias. People should have been out there. And I do want to thank Mayor Farmer for being out here. I thank everybody for being out here. I thank our directors. I thank our water department. I thank you for fighting the way you do. Thank you for moving in excellence the way that you have. And just know, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, my vote is no. Trenton Water is not for sale. With that, I'm closing with part of our city's mission statement, as I do every time. We're recognizing that the people of Trenton have made us guardians of the public trust. We are committed to govern with integrity and fiscal responsibility, to seek excellence in the city's operations, and to serve all the city's people with respect and compassion. I pray that everybody gets home safely. And thank you again. Thank you, Madam President, for making sure that this was done.
Thank you. Councilman Harrison?
I would like to thank the public for actually who's here tonight, came out and speak. I would like to thank the Trenton Water Works and their wonderful staff who works hard to address these concerns. Just be honest with you, it still doesn't sit right with me. If we would have been invited to the DEP, I don't think we would have been acting like that tonight. I don't see that. But I wish everybody in this room the best. I wish everybody in this municipality all start to realize we have a lot of great people in the city. We have a lot of people that love the history of the city, but one thing you better realize, if you want a war, you come here, you're going to get a war. And we're going to stand up and fight for what we believe in. You ain't going to come here and just take anything. You might think you are, but that's not how it works in real life. Also, I would like to thank Robert Wood Johnson Hospital. My mom's been in the hospital. She was in the hospital for 14 days. She had breast cancer. She had blood clots. She had internal bleeding, but she's slowly getting better. So I'd like to thank the hospital for all the professionals. Thank you very much.
Councilman Harrison. Councilwoman Williams?
Thank you, Council President. First, I just want to say thank you to Commissioner LaTourette. I know that was not easy for you tonight, but it's well appreciated that you did make the time, because we needed to get a lot of stuff out into the open and our citizens needed to be heard. And we needed to make sure that truths were said and untruths were cleared. And I also want to thank your staff. Very proud to see so many women on your staff, but also thank you for your time, because 4.5 hours on a Monday night isn't easy for anybody's schedule, or actually 5.5, maybe we might get there, but it's well appreciated. And having you all also be able to hear from our citizens as well as us on council is extremely important on this issue. I also, regarding DEP, I hope to work with you further and have discussions with our administration regarding air pollution and noise pollution on the Route 1 corridor in our city. And those studies have never been done, to my knowledge, since the creation of Route 1, and it would be something that would be very helpful to the citizens of our North Ward, particularly, and the East Ward that are along Route 1 and the New Jersey Transit rail lines. So regarding water, I'll just close with this. It's a famous quote, but I'll just paraphrase it. And, I've said this before at council. My colleagues have heard me quote Winston Churchill. Regarding the waterworks, we will fight on the beaches. We shall fight on the landing grounds. We shall fight in the fields and in the streets. And we shall fight in the hills. We shall never surrender. Thank you. I know, and I'm Irish. That's not easy for me to do. But I will close finally. We have our North Ward Citizens Police Advisory Council meeting this coming Wednesday night. Unfortunately, due to a scheduling conflict, Sheriff Kemmler will not be able to join us. But the meeting will go on, as it is every third Wednesday of each month, at Galilee Baptist Church, 440 Martin Luther King Boulevard, from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Please join us. We always have a great discussion about issues in the city, not just police issues. It turns out it's a good kind of community hangout, but look forward to hopefully seeing some of you there. And please do also come back for our regular city council meetings. And I want to just finally, I want to say a note of appreciation to the staff and leadership of the Waterworks, especially for speaking up tonight. God bless everybody.
Thank you, Councilwoman Williams. CV Council Vice President.
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. I want to say first and foremost to thank you to all of the residents who came out tonight, who found it not robbery to be here on a Monday evening to express your concerns, your suggestions, your comments. I want to say thank you to the Commissioner LaTourette for spending this evening with us. It's been a long 4.5 hours going on, but a plethora of information. And I realize this is an unprecedented situation that we have here before us, but I appreciate you taking the time out, regardless to the situation. Again, we've learned a lot here tonight, and that's what this evening was about, was an exploratory meeting for us to figure out what is going on and where the communication gaps lie. This council should have been brought up to par the moment that we were sworn in office back in 2023. However, unfortunately, we were not until things really got out of control, and there were a lot of pressure earlier this year after a report was made public back in January, again, at no knowledge to this council. Unfortunately, we had to find out everything that we know except for today and up until July 29th through third parties, through articles, through Facebook posts, through the administration and things like that. Now, I do realize that the day-to-day operations are the responsibility of the mayor and his administration. However, as the governing body who is supposed to be making decisions on all of these matters, we should have been kept informed. So the communication isn't just on the DEP. It's also on the administration as well. And I will say, as a council, we can do better with our communications as well. So if we could have accountability all around, we could start to move progress forward in this city. I don't see too much accountability here. I see a lot of complaints. I see a lot of finger pointing, a lot of this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. But what are the solutions? We have a current structure that is only owned by the city. And we have a capital improvement plan, a 6-year one that was commissioned in 2020. And here we are in the 5th year. And we are not checking every item on that list. Why not? Now, I do understand that there were a lot of issues with the previous council, with voting down a lot of the things on here. And there's dozens of resolutions, dozens, that were either pulled or failed. Only a couple of them were adopted. And with that type of an inaction, we find ourselves in an even bigger issue than what we have seen ourselves in for the past several decades. Understanding historically that this has been going on decades, this is something that we inherited. So we can't keep playing the blame game about whose fault it is. We as a council, we as a mayor and this administration, right now, we have this infrastructure, this utility, and we have to figure out what it is we need to do to get it up to state standard. And that's what I want to focus on. So I'm going to again revisit all of the reports that we have, and I'm hoping that I get a response to my email requesting a capital improvement plan, the recent one that Director Simple had mentioned when we were touring the facility a couple of weeks ago. And in terms of the recent pop-up visit and things like that, I know some things were over-exaggerated, but again, accountability. You know, when we're talking about problems, we also have to talk about solutions. There is tarp covering control panels or electric panels or whatever those panels are. There is tarp covering that because the roof has been leaking for over a decade, as reported by our own scientists and engineers who have been working there that long, that have noticed these issues, and they have gone unaddressed. Now, we have our own inspections department. We have our own public works department. We need our departments to work intersectionally to monitor, to inspect our buildings, not just the residential buildings that, you know, renters are living in, but our own buildings need to be inspected as well. And we need to replace the roof because covering things with tarp is unacceptable, not as for as long as it's been. So I just wanted to use that as an example of accountability that needs to be had here. I would like to see a plan moving forward from the department on how we plan to address everything that needs to be addressed to bring it up to standard before something like the DEP commissioner, either this one or the next one, going back to the state and filing a court appeal to take it from us. We have to move our feet before we lose our seat at the table. Complaining is not enough. It's not enough. And I understand that the water quality is up to par, but the infrastructure.
I'm sorry, Councilwoman. that
I
was your
do know
time.
that's my time, and I apologize for going over, but yes, we have to address our critical conditions with this infrastructure, and that's what I'm here to find out, what the solutions are for our current infrastructure. And I'll continue to do my research, and I thank you for your time. Have a good night.
Thank you, Council Vice President. So I'll be quick. A lot of things were stated already. I want to thank the community for coming out. I want to thank the commissioner and his staff. We appreciate you. I know it's been a long night, as stated before, so thank you so much for staying and listening to some hard and critical comments and things. So thank you. I share the same sentiments as everyone who has gone before me. I know we are all ready to go, so I won't be long. But I do want to thank the employees from the Trenton Water Department for all of your hard work that you do every single day. I know it's not an easy job, and so especially in a time like this when all eyes are on us, and I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do and for opening the doors, for allowing us to come in and see firsthand what goes on a day-to-day in the inside of that facility. Just for the record, as like I said, stated before, I do want to follow up and see once that comprehensive performance evaluation is completed, that we can get a copy of that. And then a lot of the things that were said today, there will be a lot of follow-up conversations, and hopefully we can have a more robust meeting to discuss some of the things that we found to be true and not true today. Also, just an FYI, since this council has been in office, we have been doing our best to make sure that we invest into the Trenton Water Department. I know there's been a lot of talks. We've looked at different votes that's happened in the past, and we have been dedicated to making sure that we are funding that water department as much as we possibly can. And just quick, to Ms. Robinson, to everyone that spoke, thank you so much. Ms. Robinson, I want to actually, before I leave, make sure I connect with you. I know you've come up here twice now and you spoke about not having a specific address. So I want to make sure that we connect you with some resources and make sure that you know what could be available for you. And just another quick announcement, August 26th is our next, it's an ABC board meeting, but we will be having a special meeting immediately after with the other two hotel presentations as well. So if you are able to join us, August 26th, 5:30 p.m. here in the council chambers. Again, thank you all for being present, and everyone have a good night. Maybe have a motion to adjourn.
Moved. Second.
All say aye.
Aye.
Motion adjourned. Meeting adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming.